Oh, no, actually, we won't start with an enemy. He corrects himself. We'll start with someone you just don't like because it may be too hard right away to do an enemy, and try to bring that same feeling across to the other person, right? So I pick somebody who I don't like, but I'm out of the meditation now because I'm thinking about the word enemy.
Right.
Now, I have had people offer money to have me killed,
Right.
where police were brought in. Okay. I have had people, after bullshit, try to lose me work. After we did a bullshit on Mother Teresa, there was someone who tried to get us thrown off the Super Bowl, which was an important gig for us. We played the Super Bowl. I don't mean we played in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Right, you did it.
One of the
That would be important.
I would remember.
You'd have to win the game.
Yeah, because then it would be my team.
Yeah.
If I was on it. But it's going to take more than an underinflated football to get me to win the Super Bowl. You're going to have to go deeper into your toolkit for me to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I've had people try to boycott it. I've had people hit me. I've had people kick in my ribs. I've had people spit on me. I've had people grab me in Times Square and do all of those things to me. I have had people stand up in Q&As and say incredibly rude.
The Call to Freedom is coming up next, live after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for liberty news and activist updates. Produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. Online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow with your latest edition of the Liberty Beat. Gold is trading around $1,270, silver at $14.64, and Bitcoin is trading around $5,392. Today's prices are brought to you by InnoScale. Take off with Managed Cloud. Looking for a safe, secure way to store your important files online? Let InnoScale handle it for you. Their high availability cloud servers are the perfect solution for clients needing one or more secure, scalable servers with built-in hardware failover protection. For details, see them online at innoscale.net. In the news, during the first hearing in what's expected to be a protracted legal battle over the U.S.'s extradition request, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange told a British judge that he wished to fight extradition, and the hearing was concluded with the next court date set for May 30th. The anti-media reports that Assange, whom the U.S. has charged with conspiring with Chelsea Manning to break into a government computer, a charge that carries a maximum prison term of 5.5 years, appeared on screen wearing a sports jacket. He wasn't handcuffed, and when asked if he would consent to surrender to the U.S., he replied that he did not wish to do so. His appearance came a day after another judge slapped him with a 50-week sentence for skipping bail in 2012. The editor-in-chief of WikiLeaks on Wednesday said the extradition process is where the real legal battle begins for Assange. The Liberty Beat is sponsored in part by Brave Botanicals, high-quality kratom and CBD at reasonable prices, with excellent customer service. Brave Botanicals is activist-owned and mission-driven, fighting for your right to consume plant-based medicine and natural remedies. Find out more at mybravebotanicals.com. And right now, Liberty Beat listeners can save 10% by using promo code SNLS at checkout. This is the latest edition of the Liberty Beat. Find us online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. Your news now continues. Going a step beyond the all options are on the table platitudes consistently parroted by Trump administration officials, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo on Wednesday said the U.S. is prepared to take military action in Venezuela if that's what's required. The anti-media reports that Pompeo said the Trump administration officials are trying to do everything they can to avoid violence. With that statement made, even as the White House expressed unequivocal support for the military uprising, led by Venezuelan opposition leader Juan Guaido. Jody Evans, co-founder of the anti-war group Code Pink, denounced Pompeo's remarks as an outrageous threat. In an appearance on MSNBC just hours after Pompeo's interview, National Security Advisor John Bolton echoed many of the Secretary of State's talking points, while continuing to make the Orwellian claim that the coup the Trump administration is supporting in Venezuela is somehow not a coup. Common Dreams reported that progressive advocacy groups and lawmakers have condemned the Trump administration's support for the attempted coup. and urged the U.S. to stop interfering in Venezuela's internal affairs. A federal judge has ruled that the federal government can assert state secrets privilege to keep details of the warrantless mass surveillance programs secret. The ruling from U.S. District Judge Jeffrey White brings an end to a legal battle that has lasted more than 10 years, as 5 Americans sought to reveal the full scope of the controversial spying program. The plaintiffs have been represented by the Electronic Frontier Foundation since 2008, several years before whistleblower Edward Snowden leaked classified files revealing the NSA's massive spying apparatus. Judge White agreed with arguments made by the Department of Justice, namely that revealing any details about whether the government collected the 5 plaintiffs' internet and phone data would threaten national security. The judge refused to comment on whether previous reports on government surveillance confirmed that the U.S. government spied on Americans. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from the Conscious Resistance Network, featuring videos, news reports, and articles from a spiritual anarchist perspective. Experience the Conscious Resistance at theconsciousresistance.com. How would you like to have your business featured on the Liberty Beat? You can. Just send an email to libertybeat@snls.news for details. This is the Liberty Beat, produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. The Liberty Beat is online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow, reporting for the Liberty Beat, reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
Researchers have definitively concluded that all of it, is some kind of sick joke. The Princeton study suggests that the entirety of existence, including time, marriage, migratory patterns of birds, continental drift, life itself, photosynthesis, human society, and the changing of the seasons, are all part of a massive twisted ruse orchestrated by a spiteful cosmos.
Look at you morons, taking this stupid video for your pointless newspaper. Everything's a joke. I'm a joke, you're a joke, the whole universe is a joke.
We at the Onion Week in Review are compelled to inform viewers that while this entire segment is indeed one small part of the giant perverse joke, the upshot is that the next minute of your life will be no more or less pointless than if you were to spend it with a loved one, mentoring an at-risk youth, or simply wallowing in your own feculence. In other news, Harley Davidson and Jack Daniels collaborate on a local felony. A churchgoer blanks on why she's lighting a votive candle. And please ring the bell and the boy will come round momentarily for your bags. For more news, visit theonion.com/newsbeat.
Welcome to the Call to Freedom. It is Friday, actually, finally, May the 3rd of 2019.
Oh, we finally made it.
Yeah, we did. I'm your host, as always, Ari DeMezzo, author of Dancing in Hellfire, which you can find on Amazon. And I'm joined in the studio today, as always, by
Michael Hampton from BitcoinHistory.com.
And I am very, very glad it's Friday. I really want it to stop raining, though, because I intend to burn more stuff Tuesday. And I know it won't rain Tuesday. It's just going to be cloudy and overcast and actually close to 70 degrees. So it's going to be pretty nice weather.
Yeah, but you know, we've been like, I saw in the weather, we've been like 15 to 20 degrees below average the last week or two.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's dropped down to 30 a couple of nights, I think.
35, something like that. But yeah, even the 50s is like very much below average for May.
Very cool. Well, not really, because it is
cool, literally.
Yeah. The rain is the bigger concern that I have, though. I don't really care too much about the temperature hovering between the 40s and the 50s, but the rain really sucks. It ruins my hair, and I'm not a fan of that.
Rain, go away. Come again some other day.
So yesterday, near the end of the show, we ended up talking about Semenya, Caster Semenya, who is this athlete, a sprinter, who has a naturally high testosterone level. And she looks like a dude. She does. And she looks so much like a dude, and her abilities so vastly outstrip her competition that they actually, the governing body of her sprinting thing, whatever it is that they do there, the IAAF, required her to undergo a sex confirmation test.
Which she did, and it determined that she was probably some sort of intersex, according to rumors, which isn't terribly surprising, but also isn't particularly relevant.
except that it opens up a larger question of what in the world do we do about intersex and transgender athletes? And it's not a discussion that we're allowed to have, because so many people get upset when you have the audacity to say that there is a biological difference between the sexes.
Yeah, people just really do not like to confront. I mean, yeah, there's an obvious biological difference. These people have penises. These people have vaginas. I mean, that's
a physiological difference.
Well, isn't that biological, though?
Well, it's a result of biology.
Result of biology, yeah. And some people have
fair enough.
Something in between.
Yeah, but, it's the difference between testosterone and estrogen that ultimately manifests and causes the distinction between male and female wrestlers, or male and female sprinters, or male and female anythings.
Yeah.
Because it's also true in, it's also true in chess, where the top male chess players in the world are easily better than the top female players in the world.
Okay, that one's slightly surprising. I didn't know that.
It is surprising, and the difference is by hundreds of points using the IFIDE rating system. I think that's it.
Okay, that's a new one for me.
Yeah, well, I've extensively studied chess, mostly in high school, not so much in the past decade or so. So I stayed up to date on it pretty thoroughly. And yeah, there's no doubt whatsoever men are better at chess than women, which is surprising because it's not a physical activity. I would have always expected them to be more evenly matched. But whether we're talking about chess or wrestling or whatever, what's really keeping any of these men from putting on a dress, declaring themselves to be trans, and going to compete in a women's league, where they will, almost by definition, perform better? Or, relatively better than they would in their own competition. And this isn't to say that, the average male can beat up the average female boxer. Obviously, that's silly to conclude. That's not what I'm suggesting. I'm saying that the average male boxer, however, is going to be capable of winning a match against the average female boxer. And this is where a lot of the MMA stuff and female boxer things go wrong, with a lot of men saying things like saying this and women responding with the predictable, well, you can go into a ring with Rita Foreman or whatever and test your hypothesis. He's like, that's not what he's saying. He's saying that Mike Tyson, or insert best male boxer here, would be more than a match for the best female fighter.
Okay, that wouldn't surprise me.
No, it wouldn't surprise me either. It shouldn't surprise anyone. And I don't think it does, but for some reason we're not allowed to say it. Because that whole narrative that there is a biological difference between the sexes triggers so very many people. Yet it's an observable fact, and we can look at it and find out to be true. It's not about baby making or anything like that, although that's certainly one biological difference. In terms of athleticism and competition, men have a provable, demonstrable edge as a result of higher testosterone levels. So if we can't obviously allow men and women to compete together, if we end segregation in sports, right, then all we're really doing is eliminating women from the playing field, because the WNBA does not have players as good as the NBA, and that's always going to be the case. So if you were to have a unisex sports arena, it would be dominated entirely by men, because the women would continue losing more often than not. I'm not saying they would always lose, but more often than not they would, until there were no women athletes left. It's kind of how, I made the statement yesterday that all of these athletes in the Major League Baseball Association are on steroids. And I still believe that's probably true, because because that's the whole point of the competition, is to get the best out there. So people are going to seize whatever edge they can in order to be the best, or to get the best.
You should expect it.
Right. So we're basically putting people who are on steroids, because we discovered yesterday that testosterone is indeed a steroid, against people who are not on steroids. And that's obviously going to be a problem. We can't combine the sexes, therefore. I think that's fair to say, because I don't think we should remove women from the medal podiums, and that's effectively what we would be doing.
Yeah, I'm don't think I'd be in favor of that.
But then how do we handle transsexualism? How do we handle people who are transgender? Do we put them into their own leagues? Do we ban them from participating in sports? Because there aren't enough transgender sprinters out there for them to form their own league. There just isn't. There may be like 3 professional trans sprinters in the world.
Yeah,
That's just speculation, obviously. I have not looked it up, but I can't imagine it's very common.
it doesn't sound like it would be.
They certainly wouldn't have enough to have an actual league on their own, right?
Right.
So we can't segregate them off by themselves. Not that I'm a fan of any sort of segregation anyway, but that's obviously a non-starter. You're basically just banning them from the competition when you do that. But we can't have male to female people competing against cis women, because then they dwarf the competition. They ultimately win. They set new records and things like that. They win championships, and it frustrates women. It frustrates feminists. Quite right, too, you know. I'm fully with them on that point. It's not a fair advantage. Most advantages are by definition unfair, but this one in particular, it's basically just requiring that they wrestle or sprint or whatever, or weightlift against men. In terms of biology, in terms of sex, it's basically asking them to compete against men. But if we put a male to female person in with the men, then we have the same sort of problem, but in reverse, where because of the testosterone blockers and the estrogen, they're not going to be able to compete against other men. So I don't know what the solution to these problems are, but I know what it's not. And it's not this transgender weightlifter smashing women's world records, sparking a lot of backlash from Olympians. That is not the solution. That is just going to make everyone angry at transgender people. And look, I get it. I don't get it. If you're a male to female trans person, why in the world would professional weightlifting be something you wish to pursue? I would imagine most people would want to cause some sort of muscular atrophy, which is the point of the testosterone blockers in many ways, not build muscles. This is the call to freedom.
Did you know you can legally exit the U.S. federal income tax system? Well, it's true, and thousands of American nationals are doing it. The 16th Amendment and the Internal Revenue Code are legal, but only in a limited jurisdiction. This is the basis behind the voluntary nature of the income tax. Learn the exit strategy provided by Congress. Find out more by visiting weissparis.com and watch our numerous videos. That's WEISS Paris.com.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it. Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Love what we do? Please help support our international satellite channels at patreon.lrn.fm. That's patreon.lrn.fm.
Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom, and you're invited to give us a call. Are the phone lines working?
The phone lines should be working.
At 603-283-6160. Again, that's 603-283-6160, or you can use the Discord call-in lines, which you can find at discord.lrn.fm. Now, we've been following up with a conversation that we had yesterday toward the end of the show about a specific female athlete who lady looks like a dude, who is so good at her sprinting that they forced her to undergo a sex test to prove that she was in fact a woman. And it seems that there was some sort of chromosomal abnormality in her results that was leaked without the full details of the results actually being leaked. So we don't really know what the case is with her, but it seems pretty likely that she's going to be some sort of intersex or some sort of, biological anomaly, something like XXY.
Right. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. And of course, somehow yesterday we ended up getting into a conversation about lefties eating their twins or whatever. Good God, I don't know what happened yesterday.
Yeah, I don't know what Mark was on there but at the end of the show yesterday, but he was on a roll.
Yeah, it was great. If you want to listen to yesterday's episode, the best place would be on Podbean. You can find it at calltofreedomlive.podbean.com. And a story has come out about a transgender weightlifter who is now receiving backlash after racking up multiple wins during the 100% Raw Weightlifting Federation competition in Virginia over the weekend, this past weekend. So Mary Gregory, an American powerlifter and strength coach, took to Instagram on Sunday to announce that she had gone 9 for 9 at the competition and broken 4 women's world records. Now, that's what we call a shutout.
Yeah.
That's what we call totally outclassing the rest of the competition. When Bobby Fischer, going back to chess, won the U.S. championship with 10 wins and 0 losses, that was unheard of at the time. And what this person effectively did was go 9 wins and 0 losses. And it's just as shocking now as it was then. And people said of Bobby Fischer, he's in a league of his own now. No one can touch him. And that's clearly going to be the case with Mary Gregory.
Yeah, she's in a league of her own.
She's certainly outclassing her competition. I think a lot of people would like to see her in a league of her own, which comes back to the topic we were discussing, which is how do we even begin to deal with this? But it's not just her winning, it's that she broke 4 women's world records. The world squat record, the open world bench record, the world deadlift record, and the world total record. So basically, she deadlifts and bench presses more than any woman in the history of these records. Which makes sense because dude used to be a dude. I phrased that correctly. Incorrectly. That wasn't how I meant to say that, but whatever. So she used to be a dude, and I don't know to what extent she has transitioned. It's really not my business whether she still has male organs or female organs.
Yeah. Why does that matter? Is that not what trans is about? Or what? Not
really. It would matter in the sense that, if she's only transitioning bodily, if she's transgender, okay, now we have to get into it. So there's a difference, right, between transgender and transsexual. I'm not actually transgender. I'm transsexual, a non-op transsexual, in fact. The difference is in physiological and biological changes. Biological isn't the right word, but I guess it technically is. But that's the difference. A transgender person is a man who adopts the cultural mannerisms of women while undergoing no physiological changes. They don't get on hormones, and they don't ever get sexual reassignment surgery or breast implants or anything like that. They just live permanently as women without going through those sorts of physiological changes. They wear dresses and makeup and all of that kind of stuff because those are the cultural norms of what it means to be woman. That's transgender. Transsexual means that they have undergone physiological changes to some degree. This usually involves hormone replacement therapy because sex changes are expensive and, in my opinion, very stupid. I don't think that they are the right solution for 99.9% of trans people. And trans is a word I use to encompass both transgender and transsexualism. But if she's just transgender, then she is not undergoing hormone replacement therapy, which means she is not on spironolactone, which is a testosterone blocker, and she's not on estrogen. She's just a man who prefers to identify as a woman, which is fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm not saying she has to be on hormone replacement therapy or that she has to undergo a sex change or anything else.
No, obviously not.
It's totally fine however she wants to proceed, except that if she's not at least on hormone replacement therapy, then she's clearly just putting on a dress in order to compete against the women. She's pulling a Bender from Futurama.
Oh.
And there may be more reasons, that let me rephrase that. She's not putting on a dress just to compete with women because there may be other reasons that, she's transgender and all of that. It's not my business. I'm not her psychologist. But that's effectively what she's doing, if that is the case. Now, if she is on some sort of hormone replacement therapy, or if she's even had a full-blown sex change, again, I don't really care. I just want to know whether or not she's actually transsexual or whether she's transgender, because most people don't know the difference. And when you come across a news article, it's going to refer to someone like her as transgender, even if she's transsexual. They're going to call Caitlyn Jenner, who has undergone sexual reassignment surgery and who clearly has undergone hormone replacement therapy, they're going to call Caitlyn Jenner transgender, even though that's not correct. She's transsexual. She's a post-op transsexual because there's 3 types of transsexuals. There's pre-op, post-op, and non-op. I'm a non-op. It means I have no intention of getting sexual reassignment surgery. Pre-op is someone who does intend to get sexual reassignment surgery, but who has not yet done so. And a post-op is someone who has had sexual reassignment surgery. So I would argue in a lot of ways that being transgender is more like being a permanent drag queen, And And that's fine. Again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. But being transsexual, whether or not pre-op or post-op, is a different beast because you are undergoing some sort of physiological changes. You are changing your body chemistry in order to more closely align with the sex rather than the gender. And obviously, most people who are transsexual are obviously going to be transgender as well. I do wear skirts and things like that. But technically, I could put on men's clothes and I would still be transsexual, just not transgender. Because I wouldn't be adopting the gender norms of the female. Although if I'm transsexual, then I'm also biologically closer to female than I am male, which is caused by the hormonal replacement therapy. So I think technically putting on male clothes would be what would make me transgender. But who cares? I mean, that gets into a rabbit hole.
I'm so confused.
It's not, me too. Everybody is confused about this, and that's what we're trying to do is cut through the crap. This is the call to freedom.
Hey, I'm LRN.FM Program Director Ian Freeman. If you're listening to our free-to-air satellite feed in North or Central America, heads up. We've been on the Galaxy 19 satellite since 2010, but now our satellite provider is moving LRN.FM to a new channel on a different transponder. The current channel will stay on the air until the end of May to give you time to transition without any loss of service, so don't delay. I've posted the new channel details at sat.lrn.fm, but in case you're listening with no internet access, if you do a blind scan on your receiver, you should see the new channel at transponder 6, 11.8425 gigahertz, horizontal polarization, symbol rate 22,000, FEC 3/4. All that information is at sat.lrn.fm, as well as a link to our Patreon, where you can support our channels for just $2 a month. Visit sat.lrn.fm for more information about our international satellite channels, and thanks for listening to LRN.fm.
There are basically two types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
People love photography. But when we thought about photography, we realized one thing. Humans are limited to looking at photos with our eyes. That's a problem, right? So we made an app, PicSong, the first program that turns your photos into music if you want to do that for some reason. It puts the power in your hands. You get to decide why you need this. I can't tell you why you need this. It's not my job. Who is this app for? Maybe it's for students, or artists, or blind people. But can it turn your music into photos? No, it can't. Do you get to keep the original photo? No, it gets deleted. Always back up your photos before using PicSong.
This is the Onion News Network. Imagine someone in your community getting in their car, turning on the radio, and hearing the Liberty Radio Network. You can make that vision a reality with your own micro radio station. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how you can put our programs on the air in your area. You can have LRN.FM running around the clock, and you can even add in your own local shows. Building a radio station is simple, but programming isn't. That's where LRN.FM comes in. Learn more at broadcast.lrn.fm. That's broadcast.lrn.fm.
Would you like to hang out with Penn Jillette? He's keynoting Freedom Fest this year. I, for one, am thrilled. Freedom Fest is the largest liberty-oriented gathering in the world. They take a Big Tent approach with libertarians, conservatives, liberals, anarchists, and just open-minded people mingling together to hear real debates, share real solutions, and converse freely. This year's theme is the Wild West, a time of liberty and opportunity, or a time of anarchy and violence. Maybe both. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and get your tickets now. Freedom freedomfest.com/FTL. Not convinced yet? Hey, I understand. It's a high-end event, even with coupon code FTLEB. Sure, you're likely to receive investment advice that'll make that sum seem paltry, but I have something special for you. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and you'll get the 5 best speeches from last year for free. Call it a test drive. Do yourself a favor and go to freedomfest.com/FTL. freedomfest.com/FTL. Use coupon code FTLEB for a discount.
Now you can follow LRN.FM on the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm.
Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom. I don't know why that happens sometimes. It's super annoying, though. And we've been talking about this this huge problem that we as a society have, and that we have this giant question that exists now about how we're going to handle transsexual athletes when they want to compete, right? But before we get back into that, I want to remind you that the Rational Review News Digest, which you can find at rationalreview.com, is the Freedom Movement's daily news digest, aggregating stories from all over the internet that are of interest to libertarians and liberty-minded people. They include podcasts, videos, blogs, and news articles, and are now a source for people to receive the Call to Freedom's podcasts. So be sure to check them out at rationalreview.com to stay up to date on all the happenings in the wider world. They also brought us a story from Venezuela that I'm excited to get into later.
Uh-oh.
But of course, it's not just a news aggregate, really. It's a rewriting of headlines and really funny, amusing editor's notes. The best part, really, is not just the rewritten headlines, although those are great. The best part, in my opinion, is when the two editors there start arguing with each other in the editor's notes. Because one of them will post a note, the other one will post a note saying something like, "That's really stupid. I'm ashamed you wrote that." And then the other one will post a response, and you'll end up with, like, I think the most I've seen was like 4 editor's notes, just going back and forth like that. And it's not exactly uncommon that they do this, so go check it out. It's a great little service. You can find it at rationalreview.com. So this there was a trans wrestler who won the Texas State Championship, and that brought this entire discussion up again, and we wouldn't still be having this discussion if we were allowed to simply have this discussion. But we're not. Too many people get upset when you say there's biological differences between the sexes.
But why? Why do people get triggered by this?
Because it's an invalidation, they say. They say it's an invalidation of trans people.
Wait, why is it? I don't get it.
Well, I don't get it either, right? I'm not trying to argue that they're right. In fact, I think they're wrong. But the entire point of distinguishing sex from gender was to not invalidate trans people, and so that they could still recognize, okay, there is a biological difference between male and female, but there isn't necessarily a difference between the cultural norms of male and the cultural norms of female. So if someone who is biologically one wants to adopt the cultural norms of the other, they can be transgender, and there's no problem with that. If they want to adopt the physiological characteristics of their non-birth sex, then they're transsexual. And there's still some biological differences between the trans woman and the cis woman, and that is where you make them angry, when you recognize that reality. Caitlyn Jenner, I'm sorry to tell people, does not have a womb. She will never be able to get pregnant. She does not have ovaries. She is not, I repeat, she is not a woman. She's a woman, asterisk. And that asterisk has to say trans, because there are critical and important differences between trans women and women. And if you don't agree, I would ask you one simple question. Does Caitlyn Jenner have to worry about prostate cancer? The answer is yes, she does, because she used to be a man, because she's transsexual. Normal cis women don't have to worry about that.
Okay, you said it.
Yeah, and I don't mind making these people angry. They already hate me. So who cares if they're also mad at me? So this person, Mary Gregory, is an American powerlifter and strength coach. And she recently, this past weekend, went to a competition where she won 9 out of the 9 events that she competed in. So she basically shut out the competition. And not only shut out the competition, but set 4 world records in the process, including the deadlift record and the bench pressing record. So she's stronger. Objectively, she is stronger than every woman on the planet.
And people are butthurt about this.
Well, I don't know about... I can sympathize, with these cis women who suddenly have to compete with this person who biologically was programmed throughout a lot of their life, basically. And I'm going to assume here that Mary Gregory is full-blown transsexual. She's post-op. She's had the surgery. She's been on hormone replacement therapy. I'm going to go ahead and assume that.
Okay.
Just for the sake of the argument. But I sympathize with the women who are looking at this and saying, this person here, this Mary Gregory, was demonstrably on steroids through a lot of her life. These steroids gave her a demonstrable unfair advantage when competing with us women who did not take steroids, who were not on steroids. Because if you're going to have this, then it's going to lead down a rabbit hole where every female athlete, in order to continue to compete, has to get on steroids, has to get on testosterone. Because that would be the only way that they could compete. You can't have an athlete who's not on steroids and things like that competing with in some sort of weightlifting competition, competing against someone who isn't. It just doesn't work out. But this person, Mary Gregory, is clueless, as you would expect, right? That's exactly what I would expect. Says, a huge thank you to Raw Powerlifting Federation from the bottom of my heart. As a transgender lifter, I was unsure what to expect going into this meet, and everyone, all the spotters, loaders, referees, staffs, and the meet director, all made me welcome and treated me as just another female lifter. Thank you. And that's kind of the problem. You're thanking them for ruining the competition for everyone who competed against you. And you're so narcissistic, you're so arrogant that you can't even see how you went into this event with an unfair advantage, then dwarfed the competition, clearly dwarfed the competition, won 9 events that you competed in. And the way it's phrased, there may have only been those 9 events. Broke 4 world records in the process. And it's all to satisfy your ego and to keep you from being triggered by people saying, wait a minute, this isn't fair to the people who are not trans.
Well, why would she care if it's fair to people who are not trans?
Because it's...
What's wrong with narcissism?
I don't want to say that it's immoral, because I don't think it's a matter of morality, but it's screwed up. It's conceited. It's demeaning of other human beings to go in there and compete against them, knowing that you have an unfair advantage and that they can't possibly compete with that advantage. It demolishes any sense of fairness that these women had. And despite her own enthusiasm, the wins seem to have angered a few other athletes, rightfully so, I would point out, including British Olympic swimmer Sharon Davies and British track Olympian Kelly Holmes. Davies took to Twitter. Why has Twitter become this sort of, this is where people go to make political statements platform? Oh no, it's official. Davies took to Twitter. She expressed her disdain over Gregory competing as a woman, writing, "This is a trans woman, a male body with male physiology, setting a world record and winning a women's event in America in powerlifting. A woman with female biology cannot compete. It's a pointless, unfair playing field." I can't disagree. I think Davies is correct. It is an unfair playing field. It is someone who is biologically a male, or at the very least, biologically intersex, competing against someone who is not. And that being biologically intersex gives them an unfair advantage. This is the Call to Freedom. We're going to talk more about this, so don't go anywhere.
What do you shop for that you could otherwise buy at Amazon? Pretty much everything, right? Amazon has competitive pricing and they deliver, and that's a big plus. If you could plan ahead in your shopping, would you be interested in saving up to 33%? There's a catch. You have to do your shopping in Bitcoin. But imagine those savings. It's like a huge raise. All you have to do is go to saveitpurse.com. We've saved thousands, and you can too. Plan ahead and save. Saveitpurse.com.
This is a special alert for business owners, consultants, coaches, folks planning retirement, entrepreneurs, and anyone who is saving and investing to build a financial future. You are likely aware that financial privacy for most people has recently died a miserable death. And let's face it, without privacy, there really is no security, is there? Bankrupt governments and banks on the verge of collapse are perhaps the biggest threat to your financial future today. The Lighthouse Law Club recognizes this and has been working diligently to provide safe, secure, and productive tools to ensure your privacy, your financial security, and your future financial well-being, despite the catastrophes which many people fear are looming ahead of us. Find out more with a variety of free videos on the YouTube channel for Lighthouse Law Club. Just search YouTube for Lighthouse Law Club and secure your future today.
Did you know we've taken our LRN.FM telephone listen line to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on demand line? Now you can call 712-770-8447 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed. And you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long distance fees may apply. Just dial 712-770-8447 and choose from the menu. 712-770-8447.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
Welcome back. This is The Call to Freedom. And if you've ever wanted to have sex with prostitutes and then arrest them, or bust people for drugs and then sell the drugs on the side for a nice little bonus, or just in general enjoy the power rush of being a cop without all the paperwork, then you should try the Thin Blue Line game, which you can find at thinbluelinegame.com. It's the only card game in the world that allows you to break into someone's apartment, shoot them, and escape accountability with the magical phrase, "It was dark, and I thought it was my apartment." So go get it now. Again, that's thinblueline.com.
Thinbluelinegame.com.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, thanks. Thinbluelinegame.com. And for a limited time, you can order your copies using the coupon code CTF to have all shipping costs waived. Once more, that's thinbluelinegame.com, not thinblueline.com. I imagine thinblueline.com is probably some sort of bootlicker nonsense that probably no one who listens to the show is interested in.
Yeah, don't go there. You'll need a barf bag.
Yeah. Go to joebiden.info instead.
That one you're going to need a therapy afterward.
So we've been talking about transgenderism, transsexualism, intersexism, and their roles in athleticism. And of course, I'm not the only person who is concerned about the impact of trans people on competitions. And it's a problem that we as a society have to address. And saying things like, well, trans women are just women is not going to help the problem. In fact, it's going to cause a deeper rift between feminists and trans activists. It's going to make more feminists into TERFs, which is a trans exclusionary reactionary feminist. Radical feminist, not reactionary. Although I guess, yeah, technically they're also reactionary, but that's not what the R stands for. So when you pit trans women and cis women against each other, literally in these competitions, and the trans women always, or not always, but usually win, and it's by leaps and bounds when they do, you're going to cause all of the women who competed in this unfair playing field to be resentful. And when they become resentful, they become TERFs.
The ones you quoted earlier in the last segment, they sure sounded resentful.
Yeah, and I understand why they're resentful. I'm on board with them completely. I just don't, and I don't want this to be happening. I don't want people to be pitted against one another ideologically as they are being by the left. I mean, this is where intersectionalism really begins to break down, because it's really hard to be both a feminist and a trans activist at the same time. There's a lot of conflict between those two things because of stuff like this, where you have biological differences between trans women and women that these people are not allowed to address. They're not even allowed to point out the physiological and biological differences without being called transphobic. Even though, and you know, it raises a really larger problem for me personally, because if we're going to do this, if we're going to recognize that there are biological differences between men and women, are we going to recognize also, or are we also going to say that there are biological differences between white people and black people?
Oh, wow.
Right?
Well, there's obviously the color difference.
Right. Oh, well, there's obviously the genitalia difference between men and women.
Yeah, but you can't talk about that.
But there are other differences between men and women as well. And I'm not weighing in on this. I'm not saying anything on this particular subject in one direction or another. I'm simply pointing out that these are questions that as a society we are going to have to answer. And pretending like they're not questions is not going to help things. It's going to take women with female biology and make them into TERFs.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like the way we really should be going.
No, it's going to take white people who are otherwise ordinary and turn them into Nazis. It's going to take black people who are otherwise ordinary and turn them into black nationalists. These questions, difficult though they are, they have to be addressed.
So avoiding the question is going to divide us and make us all hate each other.
Right. Well, yeah, and I think that's clearly the case, especially in regard to this transgenderism, avoiding the question of the differences between males and females biologically and the differences between trans women and women, and between trans men and men divides us. So piggybacking on Davy's sentiment, Holmes chimed in, writing Gregory's record setting was a bloody joke, and that biological women may start to boycott certain events. I would agree, but if biological women now go on to form a new league that doesn't allow trans people to compete because they want a level playing field, they're going to be called transphobic for not treating trans women as though they're just simply women. And again, they're not. They're women asterisk. They're women, right? And I say this as a trans person, which is one of the reasons that I say, I've never called myself a woman. I haven't. I've always put that asterisk there. And I'm always going to, because that's a critical freaking thing. I'm not simply a woman, and I'm not going to pretend to be. I'm not insane. I don't believe that I am simply a woman. And I think that these trans people who go out there and they say, no, I'm simply a woman who has a penis or whatever, they are, if not delusional, they're operating under this mindset that they can assert a thing as being true, or that they can just redefine words and concepts as they see fit.
Well, there's a lot of that going around lately.
There is, and I'm not a fan of that. I'm a fan that, words are agreed upon socially, and it's largely arbitrary exactly what they mean. But once we come to a meaning, unless it changes in mass, we can't just pick our own definition and start using it and expect to make sense to anybody. Like if I was to suddenly swap around the words tree and sky, and I was trying to describe people, what a forest looked like, I would confuse everybody.
You wouldn't make any sense.
No, because I'm using my own special definitions, and that's fine. I have the right to do that, but I do not have the right to make you respect my definitions or to make you use my definitions. And if my definitions disagree with yours, we have to ask the question, well, whose definitions are most reliable? Whose allow us to communicate most effectively a given concept? And it's not going to be mine in that particular case, which is why I refer to myself in the transsexual lingo as a she-male, because that communicates effectively. Simply woman does not. Woman asterisk does not. Even male to female non-op transsexual does not. It requires too much thought on the listener to process. She-male doesn't. It's quick, it's simple, and they know exactly what it is off the top of their heads.
Yeah, and some people find it offensive.
Yeah, I don't care. Screw them. People are offended by everything. Look, if they're offended by anything today, it's not going to be my use of the word she-male. It's going to be when I said, what was it, that Caitlyn Jenner is not a woman?
Yeah, you said that.
That will be what triggers them.
Yeah, I think this is probably going to be your most offensive show yet.
Good. Let's do this. So Holmes was actually a bit more concerned about trans people than this trans person, saying, have a trans category if need be, but even better, a trans game. Trans games. I'm not a fan of those concepts because, as we were talking about during the first or second segment, whenever it was, there aren't enough trans people to constitute a category like that.
Yeah, there just aren't.
But she says, otherwise, I'm starting to worry about the backlash and abuse that the trans community will get from spectators. It will happen. And she's absolutely right. That's why I would say that I'm a better trans activist than Supermom, the Tiffany GameStop chick, because she, by her actions, did harm to the public perception of trans people. She reinforced the stereotype that we're all just super sensitive and eager to get butthurt and make a scene because, oh no, someone said a thing we don't like. And that's true of a lot of trans people. It's not just a stereotype that needs to go away. It's a stereotype that needs to stop being acted upon by the trans community. And in the same way, I would say that Holmes here is a much better trans activist than Mary Gregory. Mary Gregory went out there and demonstrably harmed the perception of trans people in the eyes of the masses. demonstrably made a lot of women at a competition resentful that they couldn't compete. And doesn't seem to care. In fact, she's happy about it. That's how clueless she is. Screw these other women. I want what I want. And she considers herself, presumably, a trans activist.
My name is Angel Rach. I'm a mother of 2 teenage children, and I fought all the way to the Supreme Court for the right to use the medicine that saved my life. I've been permanently disabled for 10 years, with an inoperable brain tumor, wasting syndrome, and several other serious conditions. For 4 years, I was in a wheelchair, in so much pain, I couldn't even hug my kids. The hardest part was looking in their eyes and seeing how much they were suffering because of my medical condition. The medicine that gave me my life back and gave my kids their mom back was cannabis, also known as medical marijuana. With medical marijuana, I can walk, maintain my weight, and I can be a mom. Without it, my doctors believe that I would die. To learn more about medical marijuana, contact Marijuana Policy Project at 1-877-JOIN-MPP or on the web at mpp.org.
Did you know you can listen to LRN.FM via our free-to-air satellite channels? We have channels over nearly all of North America and much of Africa. All you need is an affordable receiver and a dish as small as 30 inches. There are no monthly fees. Learn more at sat.lrn.fm. Plus, if you are a broadcaster or want to be one, this is a good delivery method for our content. See our coverage maps and get details at sat.lrn.fm. That's sat.lrn.fm. sat.lrn.fm.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it! You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
More of the Call to Freedom is coming up next, live after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for liberty news and activist updates. Produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. Online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow with your latest edition of the Liberty Beat. Gold is trading around $1,270. Silver at $14.64, and Bitcoin is trading around $5,392. Today's prices are brought to you by InnoScale. Take off with Managed Cloud. Looking for a safe, secure way to store your important files online? Let InnoScale handle it for you. Their high availability cloud servers are the perfect solution for clients needing one or more secure, scalable servers with built-in hardware failover protection. For details, see them online at innoscale.net. In the news, during the first hearing in what's expected to be a protracted legal battle over the U.S.'s extradition request, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange told a British judge that he wished to fight extradition, and the hearing was concluded with the next court date set for May 30th. The anti-media reports that Assange, whom the U.S. has charged with conspiring with Chelsea Manning to break into a government computer, a charge that carries a maximum prison term of 5.5 years, appeared on screen wearing a sports jacket. He wasn't handcuffed, and when asked if he would consent to surrender to the U.S., he replied that he did not wish to do so. His appearance came a day after another judge slapped him with a 50-week sentence for skipping bail in 2012. The editor-in-chief of WikiLeaks on Wednesday said the extradition process is where the real legal battle begins for Assange. The Liberty Beat is sponsored in part by Brave Botanicals, high-quality kratom and CBD at reasonable prices with excellent customer service. Brave Botanicals is activist-owned and mission-driven, fighting for your right to consume plant-based medicine and natural remedies. Find out more at mybravebotanicals.com. And right now, Liberty Beat listeners can save 10% by using promo code SNLS at checkout. This is the latest edition of the Liberty Beat. Find us online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. Your news now continues. Going a step beyond the all options are on the table platitudes consistently parroted by Trump administration officials, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo on Wednesday said the U.S. is prepared to take military action in Venezuela if that's what's required. The anti-media reports that Pompeo said the Trump administration officials are trying to do everything they can to avoid violence. With that statement made, even as the White House expressed unequivocal support for the military uprising, led by Venezuelan opposition leader Juan Guaido. Jody Evans, co-founder of the anti-war group Code Pink, denounced Pompeo's remarks as an outrageous threat. In an appearance on MSNBC just hours after Pompeo's interview, National Security Advisor John Bolton echoed many of the Secretary of State's talking points, while continuing to make the Orwellian claim that the coup the Trump administration is supporting in Venezuela is somehow not a coup. Common Dreams reported that progressive advocacy groups and lawmakers have condemned the Trump administration's support for the attempted coup and urged the U.S. to stop interfering in Venezuela's internal affairs. A federal judge has ruled that the federal government can assert state secrets privilege to keep details of the warrantless mass surveillance programs secret. The ruling from U.S. District Judge Jeffrey White brings an end to a legal battle that has lasted more than 10 years, as 5 Americans sought to reveal the full scope of the controversial spying program. The plaintiffs have been represented by the Electronic Frontier Foundation since 2008, several years before whistleblower Edward Snowden leaked classified files revealing the NSA's massive spying apparatus. Judge White agreed with arguments made by the Department of Justice, namely that revealing any details about whether the government collected the 5 plaintiffs' internet and phone data would threaten national security. The judge refused to comment on whether previous reports on government surveillance confirmed that the U.S. government spied on Americans. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from the Conscious Resistance Network, featuring videos, news reports, and articles from a spiritual anarchist perspective. Experience the Conscious Resistance at theconsciousresistance.com. How would you like to have your business featured on the Liberty Beat? You can. Just send an email to libertybeat@snls.news for details. This is the Liberty Beat, produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. The Liberty Beat is online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow, reporting for the Liberty Beat, reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
Following this afternoon's arrest of Congress on the charge of over 23 million counts of manslaughter, our reporter spoke to Mark Westnick from Savannah, Georgia, just one of the many Americans that has lost a loved one due to the legislative branch's criminal negligence.
Because of Congress, my 23-year-old son died 2 years ago in Afghanistan. My nephew, he lost his leg in Iraq in 2006, and my brother died in Vietnam in 1969. Congress killed my family.
Defense attorneys for the now incarcerated 538-member group have dismissed the claims made by Westnick and other victims and released a statement saying their client has been, quote, a pillar of the national community for over 200 years and completely innocent of any and all wrongdoing. Keep checking theonion.com for more as this story develops.
This is the Onion News Network.
Welcome back. This is The Call to Freedom. I'm your host, as always, Arya Dametso, composer of the music you're listening to, which you can find at soundcloud.com/Arya Dametso. That's ARIADIMEZZO. That song is called Mission Aborted, actually. It's actually part of a thing I'm working on, very similar to William Blake's, God, why can't I think of the name right now?
What a name.
Yeah, it's got a much better name than that, but for some reason, Songs of Experience and Songs of Innocence. That's the Songs of Experience version. The Songs of Innocence version is called Mission Accomplished, and it's very different. That's what I love about it. It allows me to take this core idea, this core time signature, and this core musical key, and it allows me to go into very related, and if you're musically inclined, you can hear the relation, but totally different but parallel directions with it. It allows me to interpret the same song in two totally different ways. So I need to upload the mission accomplished version. I will do that on the next break. But the mission aborted one is hands down one of the best things I've ever written. That's why I chose it for a show bumper. The solos in it are just, God, they are great. I was on it that day. But anyway, I'm joined in the studio today, as always, by
Michael Hampton from CryptoTip.org.
And that's a cool little thing that allows you to basically go on the internet and presumably send some sort of cryptocurrency to an address or something like that.
You can print actual physical pieces of paper, which are about business card size, and they're tips. You load them with crypto, Dash or Bitcoin Cash or whatever, and you can give them out to people just as an outreach tool.
It's very cool. You wouldn't want to just tip people with crypto, though, obviously. I think that would probably be more effective as far as getting people to redeem them. But I also think it would make you known as that jerk customer.
You don't want to be known as that jerk.
No. So we've been talking about transsexualism and athletes, and so far, Michael has observed that this is probably the most offensive show yet, which is shocking considering we had like an hour-long conversation once about the nuances of having sex with dogs.
Yeah, well, you and Chris did. Yeah. I just sat here.
You let that train wreck just go right off the cliff.
Yeah, I just sat here and watched.
I am trying hard to get him to join me this Tuesday for Aria Uncensored because I cannot imagine.
Yeah. Oh, God. The two of you on Aria Uncensored? That would be...
Right. So far, every episode of Aria Uncensored has been better than the previous one. So I'm hoping that he and I can get together and just go totally off the rails, as we tend to do even here on the Call to Freedom, only we limit it to safe for work topics. Relatively safe for work topics. That's not the case on Aria Uncensored, obviously. So we've been talking about, I'm glad people like it. I like doing Aria Uncensored. So we've been talking about transsexual athletes, and they keep using the phrase transgender athletes. I'm not a fan of that. I think the transgender thing is completely separate from transsexualism. And I realize that a lot of people disagree on this, and that if you ask people on the left or on the right, they view transsexualism as sort of a deprecated term, and that transgender is the politically correct term. But that's not the case at all, because gender and sex are different things. This is a common statement among the left. And among the right in general, they're just not willing to say it. At least not openly. Because there is the fact that, they will say things like, well, a man has a beard and a favorite steak and a beer that he's willing to kill over and all of this other things. And they're talking about gender there. But when they say a man has a penis, they're talking about sex. Yes, Kicks for Guns, the phone lines are back up. You can give us a call at 603-283-6160. That's 283-6160, 603-283-6160.
Well, they better be back up.
Yeah, we believe they're back up.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah. So absolutely give us a call. We like receiving calls. We like interacting with the people who are listening to the show anyway on DLive and Twitch and things like that. So go check those out if you haven't already, because you listen to the podcast or you're on radio or something like that. You can find us at dlive.lrn.fm and twitch.lrn.fm and youtube.com/Aria de Mezzo. So we are all over the place lately, and it's fun, and I enjoy doing it. Not as much as Aria Uncensored. Yeah. So we've been talking about, however, how transsexual people need to be treated in the athleticism sphere. And it's a problem that a lot of people aren't willing to actually have an open and honest discussion about. Because once you say that there are biological differences between males and females, they stop listening. They go, that's transphobic.
Why is that transphobic, though? I mean, that's just science, biology.
It is just science, but the left does the same thing that the right does. They pick and choose what they want to believe. If the science does not agree with their political narrative, then they are totally willing to ignore it and say that it's not valid. Myself, I'm not willing to do that. I am at heart a scientist. I'm a rationalist. I prefer reason and facts over emotion. And however much I might like it to be the case, it is a biological fact that I am not a biological woman. And I will never be a biological woman. I don't know why people get offended by that.
Yeah, I don't know. No one's ever been able to explain it to me, so.
We need to get one of these people on the show. I would love for one of these people to come on the show and tell me why I'm transphobic, because I've been called this. I have been called transphobic. So we need to be 100% clear on the type of people we're dealing with, that they would say to an actual trans person who does a radio show and who ran for sheriff as a trans person without ever calling attention to the fact that I'm trans. Never once did I mention it, I want to point out. Other people did. I never did. Somehow, I'm transphobic. And it's because I'm willing to say things like, Caitlyn Jenner is not a woman. Caitlyn Jenner is a trans woman. And that word cannot be omitted. Sure, in day-to-day life, the distinction between woman and trans woman is not overly important, especially once, they become truly passable, they've had vocal surgery and things like that. It's not relevant. You wouldn't expect every trans woman on the street to go up to people and say, oh, yeah, I'm a trans woman, not a woman. You wouldn't want or expect them to have a T on their driver's license, right? Because it's not the average person's business whether or not they're trans.
Right.
But when they go to compete in a field like this, wrestling or weightlifting or chess or any of these other places where men, biological men, people with a Y chromosome, let's put it that way. That's how Mark phrased it yesterday. People with a Y chromosome have a clear advantage over people who don't. Then it becomes relevant that you have that Y chromosome. So Davies, a vocal supporter of a group called Fair Play for Women, which describes itself as being concerned about the impact of transgender policy on the participation of women and girls in sports, later returned to social media to double down on her critique. She says, the reason we have men and women's races are because we are biologically different. Performance 100% confirms that. The reason steroids, including testosterone, are on the banned list is because using them gives you an unfair advantage. Fair play is racing by biology by sex, not by gender. And I think that's probably the distinction here, is that in their zeal to say there's no difference between sex and gender, people on the left who want trans women to be treated as women have forgotten that there is a difference. And this is the call to freedom.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit shiresociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at shiresociety.com. That's shiresociety.com.
Now that you've found the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM, you may want to help expose others to our great programs. To assist you in doing so, you'll find resources at promote.lrn.fm, including details on how to get a free bumper sticker, quarter-page flyers you can print out and distribute, banners for your website, as well as files that will allow you to make your own custom banners and graphics. Visit promote.lrn.fm and help bring new listeners to the Liberty Radio Network. That's promote.lrn.fm.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
Hey, I'm LRN.FM Program Director Ian Freeman. If you're listening to our free-to-air satellite feed in North or Central America, heads up! We've been on the Galaxy 19 satellite since 2010, but now our satellite provider is moving LRN.FM to a new channel on a different transponder. The current channel will stay on the air until the end of May to give you time to transition without any loss of service, so don't delay. I've posted the new channel details at sat.lrn.fm, but in case you're listening with no internet access, if you do a blind scan on your receiver, you should see the new channel at transponder 6, 11.8425 GHz, horizontal polarization, symbol rate 22,000, FEC 3/4. All that information is at sat.lrn.fm, as well as a link to our Patreon, where you can support our channels for just $2 a month. Visit sat.lrn.fm for more information about our international satellite channels, and thanks for listening to LRN.fm.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom. Of course, you're invited to give us a call at 603-283-6160. Again, that's 603-283-6160, or you can use the Discord call-in lines, which you can find at discord.lrn.fm, and where you can join in the chat there, which is sort of running with the concept of physical competition, where everyone's bragging about how many miles they could run and crap like that. It's just, at least today, it is tangentially related to the show.
Something completely different, just totally unrelated to the show, like as if they're not even listening, which maybe some of them aren't. But yeah, the phone lines are working. But one thing I didn't mention before is that they do not let calls through if your caller ID is blocked. I did see someone try to call in and got hung up on because your caller ID is blocked. So unblock your caller ID and you'll get through.
Interesting. Was that yesterday?
No, that was just now before the break.
Okay, interesting. That may have been him then. We're joined by Kicks for Guns via the Discord app at discord.lrn.fm. But before we get into that, I want to discuss something that's being said on DLive in regard to transsexualism and chromosomes and things like that, saying that male to female trans people have it easier than female to male trans people, because male to female trans people already have an X chromosome, whereas female to male people, that's a woman transitioning to a male, does not have a Y chromosome, right?
Okay.
But that's not how.
Where are they going with that?
I don't know, because that's not how it works.
That's not how any of this works.
It's not. It may be, in fact, how biological reproduction works and things like that. I don't know. I'm not a biologist, but I do know, being a transsexual person and having extensive research done on the subject, as far as how hormones affect the body and things like that, it ultimately doesn't matter what your chromosomes are, except that they determine your birth sex. Having the one X chromosome does not make it. In fact, it's more difficult to transition from male to female because testosterone is such a powerful hormone in relation to estrogen. Estrogen is much weaker. You don't have to take a estrogen blocker if you're transitioning from female to male. You just have to take the testosterone. But if you're transitioning from male to female, you do have to take a testosterone blocker. So it's a bit different in regard to transsexualism and how it interplays with one's chromosomes and things like that. But we are joined, as I said, by Kicks for Guns, who has an interesting story he wants to tell me. So, Kicks for Guns, what's on your mind?
Okay, hey, how are you doing today? You looking lovely.
Thank you.
So I live in the same complex as my parents. I come over because I don't have the extra $80 a month to pay for internet. So I have my screen and my internet set up over at my parents' house. So I walk over, it's about a quarter mile, and so I walk over to get on the internet. I am watching you today, and I got my big screen. My dad just came home with Kentucky Fried Chicken, of course.
Okay.
He sees you on the screen, and we'll dance around the words here.
Right.
And he says, "Are you watching that transsexual S pornography again?" And I said, "I don't watch transsexual pornography. I'm watching a radio show." And he goes on to blaspheme the Lord's name in vain and say, "Effing S off of here, right the F now." And I said, "Well, I'm watching a libertarian radio show." And I said, "You remember Ron Paul? Ron Paul was one of your favorite guys when he ran in, was it 2008?
Yes, he ran in 2008.
2012.
Yes, and my dad was a Ron Paul fan. And I said, "These people are Ron Paul fans." And he says, "Why are Ron Paul fans transsexuals?" And I said, "Well,
I imagine
for
Ron Paul,
everybody."
Yeah. I imagine that Ron Paul fans come from all walks of life and have all sorts of characteristics.
All shapes, sizes, colors, genders, sexes, intersexes, whatever.
Well, I'm sitting here trying to explain to him this is a radio show and that I am watching a radio show. And he goes on to
did he not notice that we're clothed?
He notices that you're clothed, but he thought that Mike over there was going to do. I guess he thought he was in the scenario or something of this whole thing. So I said, "Dad, just watch for a while." And he starts to cuss at me some more and said, "You are a sick F," and runs into the house with a KFC. And I just thought that was very hilarious. And even if I did watch, it's not gay to watch transsexual with a woman. That is not gay unless it's a transsexual with a man. Well, what do you think about that, Aria?
A trans woman or a trans man? With a woman or with a man?
A transsexual man that looks like a woman with a woman. That is not gay.
So a male to female trans person, right?
Correct. Like you doing a female.
Okay.
Aria.
Would not be gay.
That wouldn't be gay. I don't believe so. What about Mike? What do you think?
I would think that, it depends on what we consider to be gay and what we consider to be female. If you take the perspective that I'm a woman, then by definition, watching me have sex with a woman would constitute lesbian pornography.
But it wouldn't make me a homosexual.
I don't think
No.
Is there a reason that one should be concerned about being perceived as homosexual? I asked that. That's a stupid question for me to ask because I know that there is.
In this family, yes, because when I was little, I have two older sisters. They held me down and put me in a blouse and perceived to push me out in front of my dad, and I got beat with a 3-inch leather Harley Davidson belt.
Oh my goodness!
And I was scared to death of anything homosexual after that, of course.
I can imagine.
I'm not homosexual, and I think it's just kind of ridiculous how people would perceive that and would see you and think things like that when you're not doing anything like that, or it's ridiculous. And I just thought it was something interesting and something people should explore if they haven't watched a transsexual woman with a woman. It is very interesting, entertaining, and if you get aroused, you get aroused. I don't think there's anything homosexual about it.
No, I think it's probably less homosexual, in fact, than watching a man with a woman.
It probably is, but you know what? I don't really care. If you want to have sex with a woman or a man, I don't care. If you want to watch something, I don't care. Keep your dad out of my bedroom because I don't want to watch him.
Well, yeah.
I love you guys.
Yeah, thank you for the call. I mean, that's the issue, though, is that, his dad isn't trying to critique our bedrooms. His dad is influencing his bedroom and his bedroom choices, which is a real problem that a lot of people face. I went through similar things myself, being from Mississippi and being the person I am. So this is a call to freedom. Don't go anywhere. We're going to get more into this.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market, making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
You know how annoying it is when someone keeps stopping mid-sentence as though he or she were asking you a series of questions? Avoid doing that. It sounds unnervingly tentative, and it imposes upon the listener to help you complete the thought. And if you're a job seeker, this alone could be a deal killer. An effective communicator sounds more confident. Complete the thought. Avoid making the listener impatient. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important. Cutting through the clutter rather than blending into the blah, blah, blah will help you connect better no matter what the conversation. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook. Survivalspeech.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and one with just the Edgington Post. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Would you like to hang out with Penn Jillette? He's keynoting Freedom Fest this year. I, for one, am thrilled. Freedom Fest is the largest liberty-oriented gathering in the world. They take a Big Ten approach with libertarians, conservatives, liberals, anarchists, and just open-minded people mingling together to hear real debates, share real solutions, and converse freely. This year's theme is the Wild West, a time of liberty and opportunity, or a time of anarchy and violence. Maybe both. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and get your tickets now. freedomfest.com/FTL. Not convinced yet? Hey, I understand. It's a high-end event, even with coupon code FTLEB. Sure, you're likely to receive investment advice that'll make that sum seem paltry, but I have something special for you. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and you'll get the 5 best speeches from last year for free. Call it a test drive. Do yourself a favor and go to freedomfest.com/FTL. freedomfest.com/FTL. Use coupon code FTLEB for a discount.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm. Oh,
Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM, and we've been talking about the effects of transsexualism on athleticism, but I think we probably kicked that horse enough and that it's time to move on, which is good because New York Times has brought us a really interesting article about 5 things we need to know about what's happening in Venezuela.
No.
Yeah, and coming to us from the New York Times, I expect this to be a lot of socialist apologizing.
It could go either way.
Yeah, well, they don't tend to criticize socialism. I mean, if they were going to do that, the first point that they would make would be, first of all, Venezuela isn't real socialism. But that's not their first point. So there is a lot happening in Venezuela. The current situation is that Juan Guaido has called for a military and popular uprising to remove Maduro from office, which triggered a day of protest that turned violent when the Maduro regime used tanks to kill some number of citizens. I don't know exactly how many, but he did that. But both sides, I believe Guaido is actually exiled from Venezuela effectively.
Yeah, I do believe he's left the country.
So it says they're scrambling for control. I think Maduro pretty clearly has control at the moment.
Yeah, he's still got the military because he's still got the food to feed them.
Right. And, that's why socialism is always doomed to fail, I would suggest, because it's as long as they feed the soldiers, then the soldiers have a vested interest in the regime that is feeding them, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to acquire food when the state controls all of the farms. Except going in and taking them, which the military should be able to do.
Yeah, the military can seize land, but they can't really make a farmer farm.
Well, neither can the state.
Exactly.
But they do. I mean,
well, they can't make the farmer farm efficiently.
Well, I mean, neither can the state. But I mean, they're going to, whether it's Guaido or Maduro, rather, forcing the farmers to farm so that they can feed their soldiers, or whether the soldiers just roll up to the farm and be like, no, we need your food directly so we can fight this tyrant, which obviously is an act of tyranny in and of itself, then I think they could be successful with that. But, by and large, socialism works when it reaches these critical points of failure by ensuring that the military continues to be fed and taken care of. And this is what has always been the case, even when there isn't overt socialism. This has always been the case. When the king is, when the people are starving, the king ensures that his soldiers are still fed because they're the ones who keep him in place. He doesn't really care if the peasants get fed or not. Enough of them will get fed that he has someone to continue ruling over, but he doesn't really care about the specifics of that. He doesn't need them in the way that he needs his soldiers. And whether we're talking about, the kings of Britain in the 11th century, or whether we're talking about Venezuela and the socialist hellhole it has become, it's still true.
Yep, that's how it works.
So their first point is that Venezuela is a country made rich by oil, and it has seen that wealth evaporate. They have the largest proven oil reserves in the world. Again, I don't know why people keep saying that. It's been proven to be false. It's actually the United States that has the largest proven oil reserves in the world. That's one of the reasons that the prices of gasoline has dropped substantially. And the country's economy is largely tied to its oil wealth. This oil wealth once made the nation one of the richest in Latin America and helped stabilize its democracy, although the riches were not equally shared. Well, boo-hoo.
What? Equally shared?
But the past few years have seen the economy spiral toward collapse. The International Monetary Fund, which probably had a lot to do with the economic hardship in Venezuela, predicts that Venezuela's inflation rate will reach 10 million % this year, becoming one of the worst cases of hyperinflation in modern history.
There's your equally shared.
Yeah. Experts say government mismanagement and corruption are the sources of the country's economic woes. Mr. Maduro blames damaging United States sanctions, and a lot of people on the left are willing to agree with that point, because apparently, if you can't get income from the United States, then your socialist country cannot sustain itself. So the contention seems to be, and this is from an avowed socialist who is leading a socialist country, that they need capitalism in order to survive.
Yeah, that kind of destroys the argument for your economic system right there.
Yeah. If it requires capitalism, then socialism is broken.
Yeah, just totally unworkable.
Secondly, the legacy of Hugo Chavez looms large in Venezuela. Now, we knew this. Chavez was extremely popular. Apparently, he was the founder of the country's modern socialist system. And look at New York Times being honest and calling this place socialist. I'm amazed. 6 years after his death, his legacy looms on. He came to power in 1998, elected after a failed coup. He quickly rose from political outsider to popular figurehead, bringing in a socialist ideology that redistributed the country's oil wealth and created a robust social welfare program. Now let's back up just briefly and remind ourselves what we just read, which was that the wealth was not shared equally. So he redistributed it, all right, to his soldiers and to his friends. His government seized private factories, mines, and fields, and founded state companies and cooperatives. High oil prices contributed to a short-term reduction in inequality and poverty as social programs made food, housing, and healthcare more widely available.
Not to mention gasoline. I mean, during that time, you could fill up your car below cost. Well, below cost.
Maybe in Venezuela.
In Venezuela.
Yeah, but I mean, that was because they were charging us so much for the oil.
Right.
And, we were like, yeah, we're not paying that. So we started, fracking and offshore drilling and things like that to produce our own oil.
Well, that's what happens when the price of something goes up. People try to find some way to bring that price back down.
Yeah, they find alternatives. That's why we will never actually run out of gasoline. But within the country, the notoriously charismatic leader proved popular, but not universally so. During his years in office, he was reelected in 2006. His leftist ideology and bombastic approach to foreign relations proved polarizing. While his programs drew broad support from poor Venezuelans, they also alienated some of the country's wealthy elites. Which, again, we do have to ask why there were wealthy elites and poor people in Venezuela under an openly socialist dictator.
Well, they were left over.
Well, this is the way it always works, right? They go, oh, we're going to distribute things equally. We're going to alleviate the poor. We're going to have a nice, beautiful socialist economy. And you still have the same hierarchy of wealth. Only it happens now with some figurehead, some governmental body distributing it rather than a free market process, rather than people organically coming together in peace and non-aggression to produce exactly the same result without all of the dead people. That's capitalism. Usually without all of the dead people. When you involve the state, you do end up with dead people. That's just a fact of life.
That's what the state does best.
Yeah.
Dead people.
So when you point to things like Bayer tainting its aspirin with HIV and then selling it to Brazil and things like that, the only reason they were never held accountable for that was because of backing by the American state. So eliminate the state from that equation, and they would have faced some sort of, hopefully, severe consequence for infecting people with AIDS, knowingly infecting people with AIDS. So, Venezuela continued to have wealthy elites long after being a socialist nation, and we're going to tell you more, so don't go anywhere.
Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
Don't you hate that feeling in the pit of your stomach when the police pull you over? Most people have no idea how to handle it properly, and they promptly get fed into the municipal fee-generating meat grinder. Or maybe you recall that feeling you get when you go to the mailbox and see one or more letters from the IRS. You get a sense of impending doom, don't you? So let me ask you, if you could learn how to use the law to beat the IRS, traffic tickets, almost any courtroom scenario, collectors, credit card debt, and even mortgage debt because of fraud perpetrated against you, would that be worth knowing about? Don't laugh. Investigate. Check out the life-changing benefits of the Lighthouse Law Club at their website, lighthouselaw.club. That's lighthouselaw.club. And while you're at it, visit the Lighthouse Law Club YouTube channel. You might be in for a pleasant surprise.
LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
Did you know you can legally exit the U.S. federal income tax system? Well, it's true, and thousands of American nationals are doing it. The 16th Amendment and the Internal Revenue Code are legal, but only in a limited jurisdiction. This is the basis behind the voluntary nature of the income tax. Learn the exit strategy provided by Congress. Find out more by visiting weissparis.com and watch our numerous videos. That's WEISS Paris.com.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Free Talk Live.
It's obvious the government expects people to pay taxes, whether or not they have a law.
They are a band of marauders. They're a violent band of thugs, and in my opinion, they're a group of strangers. I mean, if I all of a sudden wrote up an invoice for you, Robert, and send it to your house saying, you owe Free Talk Live $5,000 this year, or if you don't pay us, we're going to send some people after you to punch your face in. Would you cut me a check? I mean, because that's essentially what they're doing. That's essentially what the IRS does. They write a bunch of strangers, people they don't know, an invoice, and they include a bunch of obscure instructions that you're supposed to understand. And then at the very bottom, it says, if you don't follow these instructions to the T, we are going to charge you with a criminal offense and throw you in the clink. This is a threat. And I don't take kindly to threats. I don't know about you.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM. Join the LRN.FM Discord for live chat 24/7 at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
Welcome back to the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM. I'd like to remind you that our podcasts have moved. They are no longer being uploaded to Spreaker. You can instead find them at Podbean by using calltofreedomlive.podbean.com, or you can use the RSS feed with your favorite podcasting app, which is the same URL, but with /feed.xml at the end. Hopefully you know how to do that. I would assume that if you're messing around with this, you probably have a pretty good idea what you're doing anyway. If you're not, just use the Podbean app, or iTunes, or Spotify, or Google Play Music, or Radio Public, all of which we are on. Radio Public, somebody else added us to that, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so cool on them. Thanks very much for that. Discord is currently having a chat about whether or not there is a local radio station in the Nashua, Manchester area that broadcasts Call to Freedom. Not that I'm aware of.
There might be. The pirate station might be up.
Hold on, I'm not finished. Because I turned into a Martian has pointed out he's linked the affiliates list for Free Talk Live. We are not Free Talk Live. We are on different radio stations than Free Talk Live. But as far as we know, we're not being broadcast to the Manchester area. I don't know. I think the preferable solution in this particular case would be to go to LRN.FM and listen to the feed directly, if you don't know of a radio station near you that is broadcasting our show. So, anyway, Maduro evidently was chosen by Chavez to be the heir because, you know, that's totally a thing that happens in democratic countries. Before his death from cancer in 2013, Chavez hand-selected Maduro, the current president. Adherents of his left-wing political ideology, I don't know if I would call it left-wing.
Well, he was all about taking money from people who earned it and giving it to people who didn't.
Yeah, but see, I don't believe that's leftism. I think that...
Well, the leftists believe it's leftism.
They do, but it's neoliberalism. Sure, it's neo-leftism, I would rather say. But to me, leftism, liberalism, are liberating philosophies. The idea of becoming a dependent on the state is about as far from liberation as you could get. No, you did not get pwned on CTF there, Mr. Martian. I was simply pointing out that we're not Free Talk Live, and they are broadcast certainly on more radio stations than we are.
Yeah.
Their list is not going to do one much good when trying to find out where we're broadcast at. So anyway, Chavez handpicked Maduro. As we said, that's totally a thing that happens in democracy all the time. And just like his predecessor, Maduro then increased the executive branch's control of the country, which is what you would expect under socialism. I'm sorry, Martian.
Yeah.
So Maduro has made strides to dismantle the country's opposition-led legislature, and he oversaw a redrafting of the Constitution that consolidated power under the presidency, steering the country toward autocracy, and moved to quash all dissenting voices through violence and intimidation. Oh, this is a U.S. hit piece, is what this is. This is a pro-Guaido U.S. hit piece. This is the United States government interfering in the Venezuelan election. Where is people's outrage over this? How dare this American author get on the internet and voice his opinion about what's happening in a different country, trying to influence the results in that country?
Yeah, you better stop that before Maduro has you arrested.
Yeah, you are clearly an American troll. Clearly, and that's it. Are you hacking Maduro's servers? Because it seems to me like you must be hacking Maduro's servers.
You're illegally influencing the Venezuelan election.
Because that's all the rage now. So 2 men, Maduro and Guaido, I don't know why they didn't just say 2 people. That's an interesting way of phrasing it, are now vying for control. In January, Maduro was sworn in for a second term in office after an election that was widely denounced as fraudulent. I don't know. I mean, who's denouncing it as fraudulent, first of all? The American government? Oh, yeah, because I don't think the American government would know a fraudulent election if it actually elected them.
Well, yeah, we do have Trump in the White House, so yeah, I don't think America knows what a fraudulent election is.
They certainly don't seem to. 2 weeks after the inauguration, Mr. Guaido, then a little-known 35-year-old of the opposition-controlled National Assembly, declared himself the interim president, pointing to the Constitution to declare Mr. Maduro's presidency illegitimate. And he vowed to hold new national elections. Now, that's an interesting way to go about this. Oh, you won the election. I'm declaring myself president. It works better, I think, when you already have the military on your side. And I think that historically, that's probably where Guaido has gone wrong.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
Without for it, and I'm not advocating any of this, I don't think any of it is a good idea. I don't think any of it is the pathway to peace, which is the pathway that they should be pursuing. But, you know, given the current situation, I think that history is going to show that Guaido was a poor strategist and that Maduro will ultimately retain his presidency against him because Maduro does, for better or worse, have support of the military. And I think the only way to change that at this point would be foreign intervention, which I am not a fan of either. I don't want, although from what I hear, the Trump administration is considering an invasion of Venezuela, which is hardly surprising. They have oil, don't they?
Well, that's what the U.S. does. They invade countries that have oil, and they install whoever they want as dictators.
And the United States has clearly chosen Guaido over Maduro.
Well, yeah, they literally have officially announced it.
Yeah. So countries that have oil and that do not have nuclear weapons, coming back to a point I made yesterday about how I believe every person should be able to own a nuclear weapon, I think the last century has pretty much definitively proven that if you have nuclear weapons, the United States government is not going to invade you. Not until we have some sort of weapon that actually completely dwarfs the nuclear weapon. And such a weapon does not exist. It's simply theoretical at this point. So if I don't want the American government invading me in my house and my property and all of that, it would stand to reason that the best deterrent to that is the one proven historically to work, which is the nuclear weapon. And ideally, you know, I'm talking about a situation, a quote-unquote country where there is no government anyway, no threat that I'm going to be invaded except by a random neighbor. And to that, you know, a nuclear weapon is probably a bit of an overreaction. You're worried about your neighbor coming in and stealing your television? You might not need a nuke to deter that.
Yeah, a nuke is overkill for that.
But if your neighbors, if you're richer than them and they're really, really butthurt and they want to come help themselves to your property and there's 600 of them, a nuclear weapon starts to seem a little bit more feasible.
Now, if your neighbor that's threatening your existence is a state, you might want a nuclear weapon.
Yeah. And, you know, that's ultimately what a state is. It's some collective of people who have decided that, you know, they're going to use force and violence to rule over other people, to take their property, to tell them what they can and can't do. So at that point, you know, you would, in fact, be dealing with a state. And I think that the presence of a nuclear weapon would deter them from attempting it. Sure, you would die in that scenario too, right?
It depends.
Well,
on whether you could actually launch the nuclear weapon at the state.
Well, I don't think launching a nuclear weapon is nearly as feasible as just detonating one. I think that in these scenarios, the person doing the detonating is going to die as well. because I don't think launching a nuclear weapon, it increases the cost too much. You know, it's one thing to own a bomb that you can set off in your home. It's quite another thing to own a missile silo capable of throwing that bomb, 150 miles or 1,500 miles.
Well, you might only need to throw it like, I don't know, a mile. If you can deliver it like by ground transport to within a mile of the state's headquarters, whatever it is, and launch it from there and then get out fast.
This is probably a conversation that we shouldn't have.
On the radio, publicly?
Yeah, I'm thinking so.
This is all theoretical.
Yeah, this is all theoretical.
We're just spitballing.
I would suggest that Venezuela somehow, if they don't want to be invaded by the United States, acquire a nuclear weapon. I hear Cuba probably has them, given or sold to them by the Soviet Union, so that's one way they can certainly get them. This is the Call to Freedom. Don't go anywhere. We're going to tell you more about nuking the state ideologically.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Imagine someone in your community getting in their car, turning on the radio, and hearing the Liberty Radio Network. You can make that vision a reality with your own micro radio station. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how you can put our programs on the air in your area. You can have LRN.FM running around the clock, and you can even add in your own local shows. Building a radio station is simple, but programming isn't. That's where LRN.FM comes in. Learn more at broadcast.lrn.fm. That's broadcast.lrn.fm.
How many lawyers does it take to change a light bulb? None. They'd rather keep their clients in the dark. There are too many lawyer jokes to count. However, there are some lawyers with more noble intentions. At the Institute for Justice, we bring the light to our clients. We are a non-profit public interest law firm with clear values and principles. At IJ, we fight for those whose most basic rights are denied by the government. Visit our website today at ij.org.
More of the Call to Freedom is coming up next, live after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for liberty news and activist updates. Produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. Online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow with your latest edition of the Liberty Beat. Gold is trading around $1,270. Silver at $14.64, and Bitcoin is trading around $5,392. Today's prices are brought to you by InnoScale. Take off with Managed Cloud. Looking for a safe, secure way to store your important files online? Let InnoScale handle it for you. Their high availability cloud servers are the perfect solution for clients needing one or more secure, scalable servers with built-in hardware failover protection. For details, see them online at innoscale.net. In the news, during the first hearing in what's expected to be a protracted legal battle over the U.S.'s extradition request, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange told a British judge that he wished to fight extradition, and the hearing was concluded with the next court date set for May 30th. The anti-media reports that Assange, whom the U.S. has charged with conspiring with Chelsea Manning to break into a government computer, a charge that carries a maximum prison term of 5.5 years, appeared on screen wearing a sports jacket. He wasn't handcuffed, and when asked if he would consent to surrender to the U.S., he replied that he did not wish to do so. His appearance came a day after another judge slapped him with a 50-week sentence for skipping bail in 2012. The editor-in-chief of WikiLeaks on Wednesday said the extradition process is where the real legal battle begins for Assange. The Liberty Beat is sponsored in part by Brave Botanicals, high-quality kratom and CBD at reasonable prices, with excellent customer service. Brave Botanicals is activist-owned and mission-driven, fighting for your right to consume plant-based medicine and natural remedies. Find out more at mybravebotanicals.com. And right now, Liberty Beat listeners can save 10% by using promo code SNLS at checkout. This is the latest edition of the Liberty Beat. Find us online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. Your news now continues. Going a step beyond the all options are on the table platitudes consistently parroted by Trump administration officials, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo on Wednesday said the U.S. is prepared to take military action in Venezuela if that's what's required. The anti-media reports that Pompeo said the Trump administration officials are trying to do everything they can to avoid violence. With that statement made, even as the White House expressed unequivocal support for the military uprising, led by Venezuelan opposition leader Juan Guaido. Jody Evans, co-founder of the anti-war group Code Pink, denounced Pompeo's remarks as an outrageous threat. In an appearance on MSNBC just hours after Pompeo's interview, National Security Advisor John Bolton echoed many of the Secretary of State's talking points, while continuing to make the Orwellian claim that the coup the Trump administration is supporting in Venezuela is somehow not a coup. Common Dreams reported that progressive advocacy groups and lawmakers have condemned the Trump administration's support for the attempted coup and urged the U.S. to stop interfering in Venezuela's internal affairs. A federal judge has ruled that the federal government can assert state secrets privilege to keep details of the warrantless mass surveillance programs secret. The ruling from U.S. District Judge Jeffrey White brings an end to a legal battle that has lasted more than 10 years, as 5 Americans sought to reveal the full scope of the controversial spying program. The plaintiffs have been represented by the Electronic Frontier Foundation since 2008, several years before whistleblower Edward Snowden leaked classified files revealing the NSA's massive spying apparatus. Judge White agreed with arguments made by the Department of Justice, namely that revealing any details about whether the government collected the 5 plaintiffs' internet and phone data would threaten national security. The judge refused to comment on whether previous reports on government surveillance confirmed that the U.S. government spied on Americans. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from the Conscious Resistance Network, featuring videos, news reports, and articles from a spiritual anarchist perspective. Experience the Conscious Resistance at theconsciousresistance.com. How would you like to have your business featured on the Liberty Beat? You can. Just send an email to libertybeat@snls.news for details. This is the Liberty Beat, produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. The Liberty Beat is online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow, reporting for the Liberty Beat, reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
Hailing it as the industry's most innovative product to date, global cosmetics brand Maybelline released its long-awaited Ideal Woman Rubber Mask this week, a thick latex facial covering worn over the head in lieu of makeup.
By simply yanking it over your face, you can instantly achieve a fresh look that conforms to Western ideals of beauty. Essentially, you can just roll out of bed, stretch the latex urethane rubber beauty mask over your natural face, and boom, you're ready to start your day. Forget concealer, powder, blush, or mascara. Now you can achieve a look that adheres to the conventional standard of feminine perfection in seconds.
It's incredible. You immediately see the difference. The very first time I tried it on, my pores were minimized, my skin tone was more even, and all of the idiosyncratic little wrinkles, physical imperfections, and tiny irregularities that make my face unique were erased.
I don't spend a lot of time on makeup anyway, but now all I need to do is yank this thing over my head, and that's it. I'm conventionally attractive. I mean, this gives me so much more time to find an outfit that makes my body look thin and socially acceptable.
This is the Onion News Network.
Welcome back. This is The Call to Freedom. I'm your host, as always, Arya DeMessa of Arya Uncensored, which airs live Tuesday nights at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time at dlive.lrn.fm and twitch.lrn.fm. Historically, it has been a topless show. It will no longer be a topless show going forward. Alas. Yeah, I'm actually pretty sad about that. I consider the possibility of just dropping it entirely because that was the hook that caused me to launch the show in the first place. But I think for the next episode, I'm just going to put electrical tape over my nipples and see how that goes. And possibly order a bikini with airbrushed boobs on them. I don't know. There's options, to continue the show because it's a lot of fun and a lot of people like it. So... And as always, I'm joined in the studio by
Michael Hampton from BitcoinHistory.com.
And that's a cool little site. It's a cool little aggregator. This is actually like crypto news that I just haven't been looking at lately.
Yeah, there's all kinds of crypto news every day and speculations and analysis and what have you.
And it aggregates all of that and puts it into a single place for people to check out.
Yep.
Right? That's really cool.
Once a day, every day.
So we've been talking... Yes, Logic Hades asked, did Twitch ban us? They did. They suspended us. I mean, obviously they didn't ban us because he asked the question on Twitch.
On Twitch, yeah.
But yes, they did suspend us for 3 days for nudity.
But it was over a weekend.
It was. So Call to Freedom wasn't affected.
So Call to Freedom. Well, the other shows that are on the network were like Free Talk Live.
Yeah, we basically got Free Talk Live suspended from Twitch for 3 days. And we were...
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we knew, it was a high probability of occurrence. I think Mortified Penguin said it best. That they were probably banned for the thing they intentionally did, knowing they were probably going to get banned for it.
Yeah. It was planned. So.
It was. Yeah, and I also like the idea of, continuing to do the show topless while streaming it only to my YouTube channel and to Pornhub. I'm less a fan of that. I like the idea, but I'm less a fan of it because it literally doesn't do anything for the LRN studio. Right.
Yeah, and it doesn't do anything for our regular viewers here who have to go onto Pornhub now and maybe they can't or don't want to have that in their browser history.
Well, they can load it in an incognito tab.
Yeah, true.
They can use a VPN. They can do all kinds of things to mask their traffic if that's what they're concerned about. But I mean, the larger concern for me is that, I want to do things that help everyone, not just myself. So I don't want to just stream it to Pornhub. I do, in a way, because I think that would really be funny. Twitch bans me from nudity, so we take the nudity to Pornhub. Who would be happy to have the show?
Yeah, they would.
But I don't think it would be as funny. That's what motivates Aria Uncensored is what will be the funniest thing I can do right now? That's why I'm trying to get Chris Wade to join me this coming Tuesday, because that will be one of the wildest episodes yet.
Oh, yeah. Is he back in town?
I don't know.
I know he was out of town.
I assume he's back in town. Yeah, he must be, because I told him Tuesday that we weren't doing the show, and he was like, okay, thanks, I didn't know that. Then, I was out of town anyway. So, hopefully, he's going to be joining me for Aria Uncensored, and hopefully he will take over hosting the show on Tuesday so I can get a regular day off. That would be great. So, we've been talking about Venezuela, and the mess that's happening over there and the increasingly high probability of some sort of intervention by the United States military. Apparently, there was an election, and the loser said, I don't care, I'm declaring myself the winner. And this has caused quite a bit of problems. So the announcement brought tens of thousands of supporters to the streets, which catapulted Guaido to the international stage and saw the United States, Canada, and many Latin American and European countries recognize him as the legitimate head of state. So this is an interesting problem with states, is what do you do when you have a state fighting itself? Obviously, I would like to just sit back and watch and let these two maniacal egomaniacs destroy one another. Hopefully, limiting their destruction to one another. Give them each a knife, throw them into a pit.
Yeah.
And say, okay, you two want to rule? Whichever one of you kills the other is the ruler of the other person.
If only they could sort it out that way. But, you got millions of just ordinary Venezuelan people that are caught in the middle of all this.
That's why I want to put them in a pit with the knives.
But they're not going to agree to that.
No, but then the Venezuelan people could just watch. And they wouldn't be, starving or drinking sewage water or whatever because their leaders are egomaniacal lunatics who want to rule over others and who don't seem... I would assume that Guaido leans more toward capitalism or fascism, as I would characterize it, than socialism. And that's why he has the support of the United States. But the months since have been a tug-of-war between the two sides for popular support and control of the military, because that's what it ultimately comes down to. Whoever has the military is going to be the ruler of Venezuela. And Mr. Maduro still has the backing of the country's top generals, a loyalty that Guaido may have underestimated as he called for the military to throw their support behind him. Of course he did. He doesn't seem to understand how this whole thing works. The military is being fed by Maduro. They're not particularly inclined to bite the hand that feeds.
Yeah,
While they may be able to oust Maduro relatively quickly, probably within a month or something like that, there are entrenched, rooted power structures that would continue to cause problems and continue to deny them food for a significant period of time while Guaido came in and tried to fix things. Unsuccessfully, I would probably guess. But it's part of Maduro believes that Guaido's effort to remove him is part of a coup engineered by the Trump administration. And the power struggle has been playing out in competing street demonstrations and with dual messaging to the population. So last month, Guaido and his foreign allies tried to bring large amounts of aid into Venezuela from neighboring countries. But Maduro's forces sealed off the borders with Colombia and Brazil, saying that the country didn't need the support, as his people continue to starve to death. To the extent that, he suggested at one point that they breed rabbits.
Yeah, that didn't work.
It didn't work, but that to me...
But you have to feed the rabbits.
That's socialism in a nutshell. It goes from fully stocked grocery stores under quote-unquote capitalism to maybe you should buy some rabbits and feed them if you really want to eat, and breed them if you really want to eat. It's nuts. And that's what people want to bring to the United States. They look around the grocery store and say, no, this is too much. There shouldn't be this much bread and meat and canned goods and all of these other things that I want to eat. I want to stand in a line for 6 hours to get a single loaf of bread that I have to go home and kill a rabbit in order to eat. Nuts. So, but Maduro ultimately agreed to allow Red Cross aid into the country, which is currently suffering from a widespread humanitarian crisis triggered by the economic downturn that is also being blamed on the United States. Because, evidently, socialism cannot sustain itself, and it has to have external income coming into it from a capitalist nation or from a more wealthy nation.
Now, socialism works fine until you run out of resources. Then it goes to hell.
Well, they didn't even run out of resources. They've still got plenty of oil, right? It's just terribly mismanaged because it's a broken economic model. They have no idea what to do because the state can't figure out what to do by definition. There's too many variables. There's too much going on for any body of people or any individual person to take it all in and say, okay, well, this is exactly what we need to do to fix the problem. No, you get out of the way and you let people solve their problems themselves in a free market under freedom. You allow people with the resources to open oil refineries or whatever and to sell that and to hire people in order to do that. And those people will go out there and buy food from people who are growing food. And it seems to work relatively well as long as you don't let the state get involved. When you do let the state get involved, you end up with this. Maybe you can breed rabbits. And, of course, there's the petro. Don't go anywhere.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Hey, I'm LRN.FM Program Director Ian Freeman. If you're listening to our free-to-air satellite feed in North or Central America, heads up. We've been on the Galaxy 19 satellite since 2010, but now our satellite provider is moving LRN.FM to a new channel on a different transponder. The current channel will stay on the air until the end of May to give you time to transition without any loss of service, so don't delay. I've posted the new channel details at sat.lrn.fm, but in case you're listening with no internet access, if you do a blind scan on your receiver, you should see the new channel at transponder 6, 11.8425 GHz, horizontal polarization, symbol rate 22,000, FEC 3/4. All that information is at sat.lrn.fm, as well as a link to our Patreon, where you can support our channels for just $2 a month. Visit sat.lrn.fm for more information about our international satellite channels, and thanks for listening to LRN.fm. Did you know we've taken our LRN.FM telephone listen line to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on demand line? Now you can call 712-770-8447 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed. And you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long distance fees may apply. Just dial 712-770-8447 and choose from the menu. 712-770-8447. What do you shop for that you could otherwise buy at Amazon? Pretty much everything, right? Amazon has competitive pricing and they deliver, and that's a big plus. If you could plan ahead in your shopping, would you be interested in saving up to 33%? There's a catch. You have to do your shopping in Bitcoin. But imagine those savings. It's like a huge raise. All you have to do is go to saveatpurse.com. We've saved thousands, and you can too. Plan ahead and save. Saveatpurse.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can't do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me.
Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa, Hey.
Who do you think
Excuse me.
There is no video or audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't going to make it.
Wait a minute.
Whoa. Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable! Why are you running from me?
Because you scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom. And as always, you're invited to give us a call. That number is 603-283-6160. Again, that's 603-283-6160. Or you can use the Discord call-in lines, which you can find at discord.lrn.fm. And after discussing transsexualism and how it relates to sports, we had a brief conversation about Venezuela so far and what is happening there. Now, we spent almost the entire episode a few days ago talking about everything that's wrong with socialism as a whole, so we're not going to rehash that. But the country's humanitarian situation is dire. This is coming to us from the New York Times that has actually written what seems to be a pro-Guaido, pro-America hit piece against Venezuela and the Maduro administration. And while they may be correct, I don't know, I'm not there, I'm assuming they're correct, it still it still has the feel of a political hit piece. But while the political confrontation continues to play out, Venezuelans are struggling to cope with the humanitarian crisis unseen in the country's modern history. And this, again, this is socialism, that they went from being the wealthiest South American country to the worst humanitarian crisis in the country's modern history. What does modern history even mean? But
I don't know.
That part aside, they went from being the richest of the countries in their geographic area to being one of the poorest that may be on the verge of the worst inflation. And I think they said modern history.
Modern history
as well.
Yeah, what does that mean? Isn't that like an oxymoron?
I think it is. But they're looking at an inflation rate of 10 million %.
Yeah, that puts Zimbabwe to shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe it is worse than recent.
They will be burning quadrillion-dollar notes for heat rather than simply trillion-dollar notes.
That's how it works.
And then maybe quintillion-dollar notes. I don't know. A 10 million % inflation is really, really high. And it's not going to be pretty. Of course, Venezuelans are attempting to use Bitcoin to save themselves from the mess caused by the state.
There's quite a bit of crypto usage down in Venezuela.
Shocking. I would recommend all Venezuelans cease using their country's fiat currency, get out while you can, and instead use something like Bitcoin or Dash or Monero.
At least when the electricity is up.
Yeah, which is its own problem. How can you use cryptocurrency without electricity? And how can you have electricity when your government is busy nationalizing the electrical industry and, in the process of collapsing it so that nobody has electricity?
Yeah, you're lucky if you get it an hour a day.
Yeah, and even then, it turns out, as we talked about the other day, or I don't know if I actually read the article on the air, but while we were talking about socialism and these people who had come from Venezuela to the United States and desperately want to warn American leftists that, hey, this thing you're talking about, we just came from it, and it sucks. Of course, this falls on deaf ears.
Of course it does.
There are already countless examples. You can find them on YouTube of people who fled from the Soviet Union, people who fled from East Germany, people who fled from just socialism and communism in general in various countries, going to these college campuses where people are protesting against capitalism and forced socialism and all this other stuff and saying, hey, I'm from this country. It was not good there. And they go, well, that wasn't real socialism or that wasn't real communism.
People marry their belief systems and then they refuse to even consider anything that might challenge those beliefs.
They do. They reject it out of hand, even though whether or not it was real socialism or real communism is ultimately irrelevant.
It was a real disaster.
It certainly was. But the attempt to implement real socialism or real communism ultimately proved to be unsuccessful and resulted in widespread death and human suffering. I see no reason to believe that another attempt to implement the same system would have any other result. Even though I recognize that in theory it's absolutely possible to have a socialist or communist paradise that works exactly how the liberals think it's going to work. It's also entirely possible that I could sprout wings and fly out into outer space and live forever among the stars. I would say that the two things are equally possible.
Yeah.
And that, sure, in theory, quantum mechanics tells us that weird things can happen, and however unlikely that is, it is technically a possibility.
Well, Marx thought man was perfectible, but his idea of perfecting man was killing anyone that didn't go along with the program.
Yeah, well, that's generally what people on both the left and right actually say. I think it's probably only the libertarians who go, you know what? Killing people is not a good solution to problems.
Yeah, I don't like this idea.
No, there's plenty of people on the right who want to kill me for being trans. Just yesterday we had the golden comment of the day being, you are the reason, you are why we need fascism.
Yeah, what?
Which is basically like telling me that, I should be loaded up and put into the ovens, which I've been told before, and I don't really care because I have a gun, and if you try to do that, I will shoot you. And I'm not going to allow you to disarm me in the same way that the Nazis disarmed the Jews and in the same way that the Venezuelan government disarmed their citizens.
Yeah, that was what, 2012?
I think so. But by contrast, you do have people on the left who are intensely in favor of killing people who are on the right. Like I saw a post the other day, I think it was on Twitter, where some Republicans for Liberty or something like that were having some open forum discussion or something like that, and this green-haired chick skated up to him with a skateboard, called them fascists, and stormed away. And that was the full extent of her argument. It was to point at them and call them fascists.
Gee, very intelligent there.
Right. I mean, oh, it gets so much worse than that.
She must have gotten a master's degree to get to that level.
I mean, shortly after the presidential election in 2016, it is an image I will never forget. It was this girl, this leftist, this Hillary supporter, presumably, or this Sanders supporter who sold out and, started licking Hillary's feet the moment that she was endowed as the champion of the Democrats. She actually took a picture of herself having written F Trump in her own feces on her bathroom counter.
What?
So she took her feces, right, out of the toilet, and she used it to write F Trump on her bathroom counter. And then, not going, oh my God, what did I just do? I behaved like a 3-year-old child. I need to immediately clean this up and start behaving like an adult. Rather than doing that, she took a picture of it and posted it on Twitter, bragging about what she had done.
Oh my, is it still there?
I'm sure it is. And not only did people not go, you are a grown person who just used your feces to write absolutely useless critiques of the sitting president, who I certainly don't support. And you think this is acceptable. You think this is a valid criticism. Trump, at this point, is not the one playing in feces.
Yeah.
If I had to pick between an ideology that was and an ideology that wasn't, just on that basis, I would choose the ideology that was not playing in its own feces.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. www.freekeen.com.
Did you know you can listen to LRN.FM via our free-to-air satellite channels? We have channels over nearly all of North America and much of Africa. All you need is an affordable receiver and a dish as small as 30 inches. There are no monthly fees. Learn more at sat.lrn.fm. Plus, if you are a broadcaster or want to be one, this is a good delivery method for our content. See our coverage maps and get details at sat.lrn.fm. That's sat.lrn.fm. sat.lrn.fm.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom. And although we've been talking about Venezuela and, the failures of socialism and how it could go from the richest country in Latin America to a country where, its people are drinking sewage water, coming to us from Mashable, India, for whatever bizarre reason, there is this story. Armageddon, it appears, may not be as far away as we thought.
Uh-oh.
In fact, global warming may or may not actually be a concern because a meteor is on its way. And this is not a joke, and it is not a sci-fi movie. It is, however, 60 years away, which obviously did not make its way into the headline, but probably should have. But NASA is warning that a major meteor strike is on its way, and in the next 60 years, it will happen. At the International Academy, which explains why they were just recently doing this asteroid defense test or whatever, because they are preparing for this inevitability. So at the International Academy of Astronautics recent planetary defense conference, good God, NASA's chief Jim Bridenstine sounded the alarm on some seriously scary news. The Earth is about to face its biggest threat from outer space. Oh, its most concrete threat from outer space, I would say. The possibility of a nearby star going supernova and wiping out all life on Earth instantaneously is a bigger threat.
Yeah, we won't see that one coming.
No, it'll just happen. We won't get any warning whatsoever. We'll just, stop existing. I mean, if you're going to die, that would be the way to go, I would guess.
Yeah, well, you might see the light very briefly.
Oh, that's true.
Instant.
That's true. Yeah, you would briefly see the light, a very bright light.
Then the gamma rays would fry you.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. Not a supernova, a gamma ray burst, which I think happens during a supernova. I don't know. It's been a long time since I studied astronomy.
Something like that.
Yeah. So the Earth is about to face its biggest threat from outer space. Our planet, is officially under threat of a meteor strike, and it isn't all that far away. We see asteroids as distant bursts of light and color, but seldom acknowledge the space particles' capacity for destruction. This time around, it looks like we really need to understand it doesn't work like a sci-fi film's portrayal. During the Planetary Defense Conference in Washington, D.C., NASA administrators put out information on the next information on the next meteor strike. NASA's current studies revolve around tracking meteor movement, which reveal that our planet will be hit by a meteor within 60 years. They are, however, working on a solution. And it isn't all that hard to imagine. 6 years ago, Russia's village Chelyabinsk? Yeah, let's go with that. Witnessed a sonic boom. The loudest flash as an asteroid caused ripples upon entering the atmosphere. It sent shock waves, releasing energy up to 440,000 tons of TNT. Damage to life and property was massive. And from someone who actually experienced it, someone in NASA, the same guy, why did they quote him 3 separate times? That's so silly. Said, it was brighter in the sky than the sun at that point when it entered the Earth's atmosphere. And people could feel the heat from this object from 62 kilometers away. When it finally exploded 18 miles above the surface, it had 30 times the energy of the atomic bomb at Hiroshima. It damaged buildings in 6 cities. Yikes.
Wow.
I seem to recall hearing about that,
yeah,
obviously.
That was what, 2011-ish?
2013.
13, okay.
The game plan for NASA is to detect 90% of the asteroids ranging from 140 meters and above. The space agency is working on collaboration with Elon Musk, the welfare horse, SpaceX, pulling in $69 million for the joint mission called the Double Asteroid Redirection Test. So that seems to be their plan, is somehow to redirect asteroids that are on a collision course with Earth. But, this article makes me wonder.
I saw that movie.
Do they know the difference between a meteor and an asteroid?
Yeah, what is the difference between a meteor and an asteroid?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. But I know there is a difference. And they seem to be using them here interchangeably. I think the difference is in size or chemical makeup or something like that.
Wikipedia, save me.
I know that an asteroid hitting Earth is a much bigger deal than a meteor strike. Meteor strikes happen relatively frequently here on Earth. We call them meteor showers. I think they're called meteorites once they actually hit the Earth. I don't know. It's stupid terminology, and I don't really understand the reason for it. But I do know that there is, in fact, a difference between meteors and asteroids. Or maybe a meteor is an asteroid that has entered the planet's atmosphere. I don't particularly know.
Minor planets orbiting the sun.
That's a meteor?
I guess the difference is an asteroid orbits the sun.
And a meteor orbits the what?
Nothing.
Really? That doesn't seem right.
Meteor is just out there going randomly wherever it's going.
Interesting. I'm not sure about that. I'm going to have to look into this.
Yeah, you can look into it, but you can make your argument with Wikipedia. I'm just reading stuff.
Right. But I mean, it really doesn't matter what we call the rock that smashes into Earth and annihilates life as we know it. Jim Brendenstein also points out that we know for a fact that the dinosaurs did not have a space program. Well...
Well, no, they didn't. But from the pictures that we've seen from 65 million years ago, they sure saw it coming.
We don't know that they didn't have a space program. We don't know that. We don't have any reason to believe that they did. But for all we know, dinosaurs were sentient. There weren't humans that were around then to go, oh, yep, look, I'm writing down prehistory here. There is no space program. Dinosaurs cannot talk or communicate. I'm not saying they could. I'm just saying that we do not know it for a fact.
But I saw a picture on Facebook of T-Rex looking at the meteor coming in.
Well, I saw a picture of Ronald Reagan riding a T-Rex. So clearly, they had a space program.
They must have.
They must have. I don't know what. Yeah, because we had a space program when Reagan was president. So yeah.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Yeah. So if Reagan was riding a Tyrannosaurus Rex, clearly, the dinosaurs didn't have it, though, in that context. He just happened to be riding a dinosaur.
Right.
So, I mean, ultimately, it doesn't matter what we call the rock that smashes into Earth. It seems to be relatively certain, barring something else happening, that a meteor is going to strike Earth within 60 years. And NASA, evidently, judging by what they're calling this, the redirection test and things like that, plans to use some sort of gravitational mass to pull it off of, or, there aren't really a lot of options beyond gravity if it's not overloaded with iron, and you can't use some sort of super magnet or something, which itself, none of this is feasible, especially not within the next 60 years. I want to be clear on that. They can come up with all the schemes they want, but they're ultimately just asking you to duck underneath the desk when the bomb goes off, because they won't be able to stop it, not in 60 years.
I don't know. They said we couldn't get to the moon in 10 years, and that happened.
That is a significantly smaller feat, though, than moving a celestial body that is going to smack into the planet.
Well, did they say how big this meteor is?
No, they did not.
That might be useful to know.
It seems to be big enough to cause a problem. I mean, they're not like, oh, it's going to hit the ocean or whatever, and it's not going to wipe out a substantial portion of life. So, I mean, they're treating it like it's a serious issue. But as we talked about, space rocks strike the Earth all the time. And you can look at the moon and see that because it's covered in marks from space rocks.
Yeah, but the bigger they are, the more damage they do, and eventually a big one is going to hit.
Yeah. And NASA and all of their schemes are not going to be able to stop it. Not in 60 years. We just will not have the technology for it. But this is the Call to Freedom. Don't go anywhere.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Now that you've found the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM, you may want to help expose others to our great programs. To assist you in doing so, you'll find resources at promote.lrn.fm, including details on how to get a free bumper sticker, quarter-page flyers you can print out and distribute, banners for your website, as well as files that will allow you to make your own custom banners and graphics. Visit promote.lrn.fm and help bring new listeners to the Liberty Radio Network. That's promote.lrn.fm.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom, and maybe you really like the show and have been wondering how you can help show your support. Well, social media shares certainly go a long way, but so does cash. And you can do that using Patreon at patreon.com/call-to-freedom. Our wonderful sponsors there are currently helping to keep the show up and running, and we can't thank them enough for showing their support. Again, that's Call to Freedom. That's patreon.com/call-to-freedom. I am sort of distracted. I'm sure you noticed. I just learned that a troll, a stalker of various programs here on LRN, is somehow aware of my birth name.
How did that happen?
I don't know, because there is no connection any longer between me and that name. But somehow he has dug it up. And that's not only creepy. Well, actually, it's mostly creepy. Yeah, let's go with creepy. It's creepy. Anyway.
Well, I see a first name in here.
Yeah.
Did he know your full name? Or
I'm assuming so. I don't know if he knows my full name or not, but he has somehow determined my birth name.
Your birth first name.
Yeah. Which isn't anywhere online. Yes, we are still doing the podcast. Your service is not updating the list, as we talked about a couple of times. We're no longer uploading to Spreaker. FPP Radio is no longer taking care of the podcasts. Instead, you will have to go to Podbean. You can find it at calltofreedomlive.podbean.com, or if you're using some sort of RSS feed, just change it to calltofreedomlive.podbean.com/feed.xml. I'm not aware of any way to actually shorten that. But,
so I did take a quick look in the toxic user room, and James Whittakind apparently tried to call the show, and he doesn't seem to realize that, one, block numbers don't get through, and two, we know his number, and he doesn't get through either.
No, he sucks. He has learned my birth name somehow. Yeah, right. I mean, people here who deal with me on a daily basis don't know my birth name because there's no reason for them to.
Right.
But somehow he has dug it up from the depths of the internet.
I don't know how or where, but
I cannot imagine how he managed to do that. It's actually kind of impressive. Not in a good way, but
you did run for office.
I did.
Did you run under your birth name?
No.
Okay.
I did run under my birth last name, which is fine. But I mean, still, to piece that together, it shows a remarkable amount of dedication to his insanity. So kudos for not giving up.
I guess.
I mean, if you're gonna be insane, take it all the way to the end, man. You know, don't do it halfway.
Yeah, go for total psychotic break.
Well, he does every day in the toxic user room at discord.lrn.fm. It is super creepy. But yeah, so we're also on Spotify, Google Play Music, iTunes, and Radio Public, and a couple of other places. But we would prefer you to actually go get the podcast directly from calltofreedomlive.podbean.com. That's where you can listen to the show now. So, luckily, I was correct. Haha. Asteroids, meteors, and meteorites. What is the difference? Coming to us from phys.org. In simplest terms, here are the differences. An asteroid is a large rocky body in space in orbit around the sun. A meteoroid is a much smaller rock or group of particles in orbit around the sun. A meteor is a meteoroid that has entered the Earth's atmosphere and vaporized, often called a shooting star. A meteorite is a small asteroid. Oh, God, that gave me a headache to read. Okay. A meteorite is a small asteroid or large meteoroid that survives its fiery passage through the Earth's atmosphere and lands on Earth's surface. That's a meteorite.
Oh, my head.
Yeah.
So all the meteors are in orbit around the sun. So how do they get into Earth's orbit? Are the orbits decaying into Earth's orbit, or how does orbital mechanics work?
Well, it varies. They're constantly moving in relation to one another, right? They're not just orbiting around the sun and things like that. So if a larger one happens to be in front of, meaning closer to the sun than a smaller one, then its gravitational pull is in time going to affect it and pull it forward. And it may be that it just happens to bypass it, and just like that, it's slung into the inner solar system.
Okay.
Or something else passes through, because there are, random moons and planets and things like that, none of which we have found to pass through our solar system. But, space is big, it has rocks everywhere, and sure, there are rocks shooting around randomly, not really orbiting anything, that would, pass through our solar system and would just throw everything off track as well. There's also comets, which have very elongated orbits most of the time. So they go from the outer reaches of the solar system past the asteroid belt, and they can easily pull some aside as they do that and pull them into the inner solar system. So there are a lot of different ways that it could happen. And of course, gravity is weird in that everything that's orbiting everything else either is falling toward the thing it's orbiting or spiraling away from the thing that it's orbiting. None of it is just sitting perfectly still, like the moon is spiraling away from Earth very, very, very slowly. Life on Earth will die before the moon escapes Earth's orbit. But the moon is provably moving away from the Earth. Because there's a very clear, specific balance between distance, orbital speed, and gravitational pull of the objects impacted, and it can be calculated and things like that. But basically, at a specific distance, you have to be traveling x speed in order to maintain your perfect orbit. And that's like a 1 in tens of quadrillions shot, being even 1 inch off, being a millimeter off, being an atom off would ultimately produce an imbalance. And any imbalance whatsoever is, over time, going to be exacerbated until it's a foot off and then a meter off. I don't know why I switched between measuring systems there, but I did.
I don't know.
And then a kilometer off, and then all of that, and then suddenly it's escaping orbit. So this is equally true of Earth. I believe that Earth is falling into the sun and not spiraling away from it. I'm not sure. I've never actually looked into that particular bit of trivia because it's not going to matter.
It's not going to matter. The sun is going to go red giant long before that.
Yeah, this sort of thing, it really only matters when we're talking about galactic orbits and things like that. Things that are going to stick around for billions upon billions of years, like the Milky Way galaxy. Our solar system, sure, 6 billion years, give or take, but that's not enough for these sort of slow, long-term effects to really manifest. So we'll still have the moon when the sun goes supernova, and we'll still be relatively in the same place that we're in now. One thing that's really interesting about the moon that most people don't know is that we are engaged in tidal lock with it, which means that the same face of the moon is always facing the Earth because it's orbiting us at exactly the same speed that we're rotating.
Yeah, and what's more, the moon's gravity is what causes tides.
I think most people do know that. I hope that most people do know that.
Yeah, there are people who don't know this. The moon has gravity, and it's what lifts up the ocean a few feet and causes tides.
Yep. And there is evidence to suggest that it also is what causes volcano eruptions and earthquakes. Because, it's doing the same thing, only in regard to magma and, tectonic maneuverings and things like that. It's still pulling on those, not as obviously and not as powerfully as it is on pulling water, because water has lower density.
Right.
But yeah, the same logic would apply to the tectonic plates and to volcanoes. And there was one guy, I do not have the research in front of me, but there was one guy who followed, I think it was lunar eclipses around the Earth for a period of 2 years. And he was able to predict with very high certainty where earthquakes were going to occur.
Wow.
Based on the moon's gravitational pull. And it makes sense on the surface that the same force that would cause the tides, because the moon is pulling them with this gravity, would also be pulling the dirt, only having a much smaller effect. Well, this has been the Call to Freedom. I did specialize in this field. I majored in general relativity briefly. I ended up changing to information technology and the management of information systems. But yeah, sort of. Don't go anywhere. Free Talk Live is next.
Hey, I'm LRN.FM Program Director Ian Freeman. If you're listening to our free-to-air satellite feed in North or Central America, heads up. We've been on the Galaxy 19 satellite since 2010. But now our satellite provider is moving LRN.FM to a new channel on a different transponder. The current channel will stay on the air until the end of May to give you time to transition without